Hey, George, any bites yet?
Howdy, Brock. Not much, just a keeper or two. Where are those other dorks?
They're both stopping to feed their respective addictions. Biden is getting ice cream and Donald is stopping by McDonald's.
Well, I ain't surprised, but it's still mind-blowing to me that they would rather eat literal poison than one of my ribeyes.
That is pretty strange. I would love to have one, by the way, but, just don't tell Michelle.
The fact that you need to hide your steak consumption is pathetic.
Wow, thanks. I hope you snap off on your PB.
How dare you? No man should be saying that to another man.
Okay, sheesh, my bad. So, what are you using for a lure on this pond?
Oh, think I'm telling you now? No way I'm giving up my fishing secrets.
Well, I'm already at your secret pond, and I'm gonna see what you have tied off when you reel in anyway.
Not if I cast real fast.
You gotta be kidding me.
Hey there, fishless friends.
Nah, man, I got 2 already.
Hey, Donald, where's your McDonald's?
Ate it on the way over. You really think I'm gonna do a repeat of when we went to Cape Cod?
Well, you're in luck. Not a lot of seagulls flying over George's ranch.
No sea eagles around for 100 miles at least. We just have regular eagles here.
That's good news. So what type of water are we fishing here, George?
This one is like many a pond in Texas and beyond. Pretty shallow with slightly stained water and lots of plant cover. In other words, perfect for bass fishing.
What tends to work best here, you think?
He won't tell me because I cursed him.
Yeah, he said he hoped I snap off on my PB. Who does that?
Okay, yeah, that's reprehensible. And this coming from Obamacare himself. How the mighty have fallen.
You guys suck.
To answer your question, Donald, I usually run a frog into the lilies, and if that doesn't work, I pitch a jig into the rock piles near the middle of the pond. I also have a Senko tied off on a spare rod just in case. I'm working the jig right now.
Seems reasonable. I will adjust accordingly.
Boy, I just love the fresh air and nature sounds while fishing a quiet little pond like this one. So peaceful. And there goes my piece.
Sup, ladies? You ready to get into some hogs?
You do know we're just fishing and not hog hunting this time, right?
Yes, I know, bushy boy. That's just what I call a big old bass. I also call them pigs, toads, biggins, tanks, slabs, lunkers, and donkeys.
I call them Christies after the world-renowned fat ass, Chris Christie.
Great idea. I'll start calling them Donnies, too.
Are there any sizable Christies or Donnies in this pond?
I keep this pond well stocked with bait fish, and every fish I've caught locally over 8 pounds has made its way in here too. So yeah, there's quite a few in here over 10 for sure.
That's what I like to hear. I'm busting out my worms and I got a fresh pack of bobbers. It's game time.
Your use of earthworms and bobbers at over 80 years of age is just sad. It's like still having Play-Doh.
Now he's dissing Play-Doh? Man, your approval rating is about to hit 0.
Didn't you bring anything else besides hooks and bobbers?
Yeah, I always keep a little tackle box with me filled with great lures.
Let's see what you got.
Of course, the first thing I see is that god-awful triple-hooked weedless worm Prerigged.
Shut your burger hole. Best pre-rig ever.
Can we all drown this man or what?
No.
Come on, Barack, it's a new year. You can drown another guy.
You aren't funny. At least this dude has a popper and a crankbait.
Wow, the lures that China is pumping out by the trillion? I'm pretty sure these lures spawn in every tackle box.
Tough to blame China when those lures really work.
Not when they mass-produce colors like hot pink and neon purple leopard. I'm tariffing the shit out of them for that.
Do not sleep on hot pink. I've had some big bites on that crankbait.
Congrats, you only catch the gay bass.
Poor taste, not funny. Color is something that is location-specific for lures. There are places where the pink and purple stuff works. The general rule of thumb is that bright, colorful lures work best in more stained waters, while natural colors work best in clear waters.
It's also important to know what the fish are eating in each particular body of water to get an idea of what might work best when choosing a lure or color. For example, in this pond they eat shad, crayfish, bugs, frogs, and tadpoles. So going for colors like white, brown, and green are good places to start. Then again, Bill caught his PB here with an electric yellow jerkbait, so it's not an exact science.
Of course, Bill uses jerkbaits. Let me guess, when he uses one, he calls it jerking off.
He does call it that. How'd you know?
So Bill was at this spot too, huh? How big was it?
It's not small by any means, but it's been used and abused so many times it looks like Quasimodo.
I'm not asking about Bill Clinton's penis. I was asking how big his fish was, idiot.
Oh, my bad. It was like 8 pounds.
That's not a bad one.
Come on, 8 pounds? That's a Donnie.
That's real funny. What kind of fish should we call Sleepy Joes? The ones floating belly up?
Disrespect me again, and I'll take you behind the fishing shed and teach you a lesson.
Like I'd be scared of a guy who can't even break 4-pound test.
Can I remind you two assholes that fishing is supposed to be relaxing?
Well, how else should we pass the time between fish besides talking smack?
How about we whip up one of them fishing tier lists you guys like to leave me out of, even though I've caught more fish than all of you combined?
Wow, George is so salty you would think we were deep-sea fishing.
Although I'd challenge your lack of confidence in our collective fishing expertise, I'd agree that leaving you out of the other videos was probably a bad idea. Sorry, bro.
No worries, Brobama. Better late than never. So what topic is the tier list on?
Well, since we were already talking lures, why don't we make a fishing lure tier list?
Hell yeah!
Good for me. I can already tell that George is gonna be a good check to you, liberal fisherman.
I'm twice the bass fisherman you are, Dumpy. I developed my skills on the shores of Lake Michigan and in the clear glacial lakes around it. Almost every outing was fraught with bad weather and inconsistent behavioral patterns from the bass. I'm used to trying lots of different lures and techniques to find fish.
All I hear is you're used to not catching shit and trying something stupid out of desperation.
In fishing, there's really no difference between the two. You can have lots of success out of nowhere doing something that should never work, and you can get skunked doing something you thought was the best approach.
That's true, up to a point. There are definitely conditions and locations that favor certain approaches.
And so it begins. What do we start with, landlubbers?
That's a good question. It's kind of hard to separate lures into categories since there's the whole soft versus hard bait conversation and then different styles of rigs for soft plastics. Tough to organize.
We could always start with the old hook and bobber.
Fishless.
I'd say we talk about rigs first, since they're more of a fishing method than an actual lure. And yes, we could start with a hook and bobber, since it's technically a rig, I guess.
Rigged. Sorry, I had to get that out.
Yay, let me bust out my night crawlers.
And therein lies the problem with bobbers. You're relying on the fish to attack a stagnant bait, so you're pretty much relegated to live bait exclusively.
Not fair, you can still use lures with a bobber. It just doesn't work at all.
No shit.
I don't mind using live bait for catfish, but this is a bass lure tier list, and using live bait for bass is not as fun or effective as working a lure.
Live bait is a high floor and low ceiling method when it comes to bass. The skill level needed to fish with bobbers is the same as the cooking skills needed to make cereal.
Boom! Roasted!
Hey assholes, my worms work fine.
Using worms should only be for catching small fish to use as actual bass bait.
Rigging up any bait fish on a big bobber is not a bad idea, but it's no fun at all until a strike. I'd much rather use a shitty artificial lure than that.
The whole point of the sport of bass fishing is to use techniques to provoke a strike with skill and intent. Improving those skills is what makes you a good fisherman, and bobbers are never gonna get you there. Sorry, not sorry.
I gotta agree with that.
No!
Yeah, you really don't see any professionals ever using bobbers. Instant career ender.
I'm tired of the slander. Put bobbers in S tier.
Wait, what does the triple B stand for in B tier?
I'm glad you asked. It stands for Big Bass Bites. While researching for the tier list, I encountered a phenomenon where some baits do not generally catch a lot of fish, but the bites they do get are almost always from a big one. I don't think these baits are always great to use all the time, but there's a real argument to be made about only targeting giants.
I can respect it, but trophy fish aren't scared to bite normal-sized lures too.
That sounds like tiny penis cope.
I'd probably be at B or C with bobbers, since it's a great way to let little kids and guys like Joe have a shot at a huge fish.
Wow, I'm just catching strays for this whole section, huh?
Yes, I'm sorry, I cannot allow that high of a ranking.
Me neither. You're being too generous, George. I'm still down in fishless.
You said you were looking forward to my opinion, Donald.
That was before it was a shitty opinion.
I think F tier should be reserved for rigs that are terrible in all scenarios. Bobbers are needed for live bait, and live bait can be good for parties of people, kids, or for really early or late in the season when it's tough to get a bite. Would you come up to deficient for me, Donnie?
No!
Yeah, that's fine. An acceptable amount of damage has been done to Joe's belief system.
Unfucking believable.
A little low for the classic, but whatever. What's next?
What about rigless?
Like this last election?
No, rigless like just a worm hook. No weights or anything.
You gotta be the brokest fisherman ever to have nothing but a hook.
Well, you can still put a soft plastic on it, obviously. We're still in rigs, I just wanted to give an example of the simplest form.
Well, this shit is awful. There's like one bait on the whole market that works with just a hook, and spoiler alert, it's a Senko.
True, Senkos and some thicker flukes might work with it as well, but there are thousands more lures that need some kind of weight with them, or you'll be covering no water at all.
It's either have an ultra-light setup or use the only 2 or 3 lures in existence that are heavy enough, or only be able to cast 10 feet. You might as well be throwing rocks at that point.
This is the only true F-tier rig, since it's really not much of a rig at all, just the most basic setup that only really works because of Senkos, which we will rank later on.
The fact that Senkos work with just a worm hook just means that Senkos are goated, not that using no weights works at all.
Agreed, let's move on.
How about a rig with some split-shot weights?
The what? Which weights?
Oh yeah, it's those trash little ball weights morons squeeze onto their lines with pliers.
Donald, why do you gotta talk shit about everything? Split shots are okay.
Maybe if you only have a hardware store to buy your fishing gear.
At that point, you might as well get a small hex nut or something. It would probably work better.
I still have no idea what we're talking about.
Yes, you do. You have them in your tackle box right now.
Oh, wait, are you talking about the anal bead weights?
Oh my God, they are not called that.
They should be. It's not like you can just put one on your line. It's so light, you might as well just have a hook.
That is the perfect take on these awful weights. Practically the worst type of weight on the market. They look bad. They're too light to make an impact on their own. And when you put 3 or more on your line, you are in fact making an anal bead rig and should be verbally, if not physically, assaulted.
I will defend the split shot. You guys just aren't using the right-sized gear. This can easily be a great option for ultralight finesse style setups.
I always see these in Walmart or the gas station in packs of different sizes, ranging from small to microscopic. If they were for ultralight tackle, then why are they always sold in places with no other finesse gear next to them?
What the hell do you want from me, Donnie? I'm not an expert in stocking stores that don't even specialize in fishing equipment.
And it shows.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
My realistic opinion of split shot rigs is that they can be used on baits that you don't want to quite sink to the bottom, but you also don't want to wait an hour for the bait to sink to the target depth. I'd still rather use a bullet weight, or really anything else though.
Agreed. I only use them when all my bobbers are stuck in trees.
You kind of suck at this, huh?
Have I mentioned yet that you're all using the wrong-sized weights? You can get whatever size you need for any setup. I like when this weight is a bit farther up the line, allowing whatever's on the hook to drift freely off the bottom for a nice presentation. Don't knock it until you try it correctly.
Every application you can come up with can be done better with another superiorly designed weight. This is D or F tier.
At least D tier. You gotta admit, this is better than a default weightless worm hook.
I can meet you in D tier, Barack. There's definitely people out there that use the anal beads. Some have even mastered the anal beads.
I give up. Let's just move on.
How about we do the free rig next?
Which one's that? Is it when you just let the line loose and allow the rig to choose its own destiny?
Oh, that's a fish on.
Here we go, Bushy. Is she a big one?
She ain't fighting small.
Big jump! These Texan bass are wild.
Bring her home, cowboy.
Oh, you stop it. Come to Pappy.
Ooh, good fish, George. That's not a bad way to start.
Not quite a Donnie, but I wouldn't complain if it wanted a piece of me.
I'll catch 3-pounders like this one all day and you won't find me complaining. Go on, little guy, get bigger.
I wouldn't really call that little. It's above average.
Maybe for your weak, pathetic, fishless Delaware lakes, but in places like Texas and Florida, that's a little one.
And I'll have you know the Delaware state record is 11 pounds. That's more than enough to be a giant, or a toad, or a slab, or a biggie, or a Donnie, or
Stop it!
Sorry.
11 pounds is a good fish and all, but the record for this little pond clears that by 2 pounds.
Damn, 13 pounds?
And 7 ounces. Caught her on a football jig.
That's a fucking beast.
Sorry for the interruption, Barack. What were we on again?
No worries, I was just about to explain the free rig.
Yes, one of my old favorites.
The rig consists of your basic worm hook setup, but with a sliding weight, sometimes called a dipsy weight or even a teardrop weight.
It's only called a teardrop weight if you killed someone.
Not true at all. What is true is that this is a rig that presents its soft plastic bait off the bottom, suspended and drifting up between pulls, while providing a heavy weight for longer casts.
I do love freedom for U.S. citizens whose parents were also born here, but I've never been a huge fan of the free weight. My problem is that with the weight sliding everywhere, it's kind of tough to know if you're banging into rocks or cover, or if you actually have a fish on.
They also will make loops in your line after a while casting, which is horrifying, especially for people who use bait casters.
I figured all reels casted baits.
All right, you gotta be rage baiting right now.
I am. You got me.
You almost got me, to be honest. I think this rig sucks, by the way. Why would you want to run a weight that loops your line and isn't helping you feel anything on the bottom?
It's really for the presentation. Also, you can get free weights with swivels on them to reduce the looping of line during casting. I used to use these because I would fish deep rocky points with little flukes when fishing for smallmouth bass, and I wanted a heavy weight without the need to run heavy line or sacrifice the action of the lure.
That's not a bad approach. I do think there are better options with more action and more control for that application, though.
I could concede that. How about we put it in C tier?
That's about right.
I'd be lower, but sure.
I've never used one, but it sounds crappy.
Okay, that's enough. Let's talk about the best rig ever, the one rig to rule them all, and the rig named for the best state, the Texas rig.
Normally, George is just biased for anything Texas, but this time he might actually be right. The Texas rig is a staple among nearly all fishermen who use soft plastics in general. It's so basic that even Sleepy uses it.
You're gosh darn right. Wait, what is a Texas rig again? Is it fishing with a ribeye?
That's not really worth it. The turtles get to it first, trust me. The Texas rig is just a regular worm hook with a bullet weight in front of it.
The connection to Texas being the bullet, because, you know, guns in Texas and stuff.
Give us your breakdown, George. Why is this rig so elite?
Well, it's really everything about it. The bullet weight is not keen on getting snagged on rocks or timber and is weedless with a worm hook. Add your favorite soft plastic and you have a super basic setup that provides the feel and action that every fisherman needs for success in nearly any scenario.
I agree. No matter where you're fishing besides maybe a puddle, the Texas rig is great. The bullet weight can just be on its own, able to slide freely like a free rig, or you can pin the weight to the end of the hook by inserting the point of a toothpick or something small in the eye of the weight to prevent sliding and make it more similar to a jig head.
I always have some toothpicks in my tackle box to cinch bullet weights to the line. That way I can get a feel of the lure and the kind of cover I'm working while I bounce it off the bottom.
I'd bounce my lure off your daughter's bottom.
Yeah, so? Who wouldn't?
Stop being cringe, Joe. Where do we place this rig?
It's a S tier for sure. No other rig is as reliable with so many different soft plastics.
It's the ultimate rig, right under the 2020 election.
I won that one fair and square, Tubby. If anything, the last one was rigged because they made me quit. Texas rig is S tier, by the way.
Facts. Only for that last thing you said, though.
Well deserved. The Texas rig is far too simple and widely effective to deny its place in S tier.
You're goddamn right. Texas #1.
Cool, what rig do we frig now?
Let's do another rig named after a state.
Is it the Ohio rig?
The what? There's no such thing.
Nah, bro, I saw it on TikTok.
Oh, of course. The official information platform of idiots.
Funny, that's what I call Truth Social.
Funny, you're deported for that.
The next state-named rig we have is the Carolina rig, sometimes called the C rig for short.
Oh boy, I got one!
Come on, Donald, you interrupted Barack.
Real fish take priority, you moron. He doesn't feel that big, though.
Real fish do take precedence over the tier list, so no worries. Here he comes. Nice little largemouth.
I'd say average. Put up a good fight, like a true American fish.
Now, that fish is small. It's just your tiny hands make it look huge by comparison.
One more word out of you, and I'm keeping this bass and throwing your dumbass back in the lake.
Try me, bitch. Also, you can't legally keep that small of a fish anyway. You'll be impeached by sundown.
No, he won't. Everybody forgets a keeper is like 12 inches. What lure did you get that one on, Don?
Worked that dead tree with my Senko. He smashed it on the drop. Pretty nice hit for a smaller guy. Go have a couple meals on me, pal.
Nice fish, Donnie. Now, as I was saying, the next rig is the famous Carolina rig. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Got one! That's awesome! Even though Donnie nuked the Department of Education, I still found his school.
Your joke-to-fish ratio is completely unearned.
Please, God, just let it be bigger than Donnie's.
It does look like a bigger one.
I know this is a ranch, but don't horse him, Joe. He's gonna spit that 2-watt hook you got on.
I got him. This ain't my first hookup. Feel free to take that in a sexual context as well.
I will feel freer by not doing that.
Here he is. Let's go.
Oh, pretty big one.
Okay, Joe, not a bad fish.
Not a Donnie, but he might be a Don Jr.
I'll have one twice that size by the end of the day.
I'll believe it when I see it, Tariff Tard.
And finally, let's talk about the famous Carolina rig.
That's a good one, no doubt. The old ball and chain.
I never used this before. It must be mid.
That's because you silly Florida fishermen are too entrenched in your shallow techniques to ever fish at any real depth.
Oh, really? Wow, sorry we don't have lakes carved into mountains by fucking glaciers, forcing us to wait 10 minutes every cast while our bait sinks to the same depth that crushed those morons in that rickety-ass submarine.
Fishing at depth requires a more broad set of skills since fish might be shallow one day and then decide to be in 50 feet of water the next. The Carolina rig provides the weight needed to fish in those depths while also providing additional noise and vibrations with their unique beaded weights.
The wire on this rig holds a bullet weight and additional beads and other weights to make a rattle effect when you hit rocky bottom, drawing attention to the area while presenting its soft plastic about 2 or 3 feet away from the weight and suspended off the bottom for a presentation much like the free rig, but better.
The long piece of line called the leader between the weight and the lure makes this rig very cumbersome and at times difficult to cast. But it's certainly the most effective rig for covering lots of deep water without sacrificing action and feeling. It's super easy to work this rig just by lifting it slowly off the bottom every 10 seconds or so to check for bites, and just letting the floaty soft plastic do its action for you.
I remember we used these to catch some nice fish, Barack, that time on that crystal clear lake.
You know, it must have been a great day of fishing if Joe actually remembers it.
Yeah, dude, Elk Lake in Michigan, some of the best smallmouth bass fishing I've ever done. That lake is so clear and rocky that you're almost forced to use the Carolina rig or a similar approach most of the time.
That was my PB smallmouth, nearly 5 pounds.
She was a beauty, fought like a 10-pound largemouth too.
The skill level to use this rig must be pretty low in that case.
You're just jealous you've never even seen a smallmouth outside of pictures or those aquariums and Bass Pro Shops.
I'll have you know I caught a 2-pound smallmouth once in a river.
You kind of suck at this, huh?
Blow me.
We got to move on. The Carolina rig is a great rig, maybe even the best rig for depths from 20 to 40 feet.
I think it's a clear superbait tier.
Nah, you can still do all the bass fishing you need to do in less than 20 feet?
Depending on the location, you might only be able to fish at 20 plus feet deep.
I will say that I do most of my fishing from shore, and this is not a good rig for shore fishing at all.
You only fish on shore because whenever you walk onto a dock, there's a 50% chance you're going in the water.
It's a much lower chance from shore, but it still does happen.
I will say it's close, but I think the Carolina rig is not quite as good as the Texas rig because it requires deeper water and rocky bottom to be the most successful. And plus, you're going to lose a few rigs when fishing in rocks 100% of the time. I'd still give it a solid A tier, though. It's a deadly tool in the right conditions.
I can accept the A tier. What about you two?
I owe my PB smallmouth to this rig, so that's fine with me.
I'm not into rigs that you need to use in the middle of the goddamn lake while assholes on speedboats blow by me all day. D tier.
The A's have it. Such a great rig. Just make sure to use lighter soft plastics and those that have some buoyancy. I would recommend smaller grubs, flukes, tubes, and lots of different worms, including curly tails and my personal favorite, the Zoom centipede in green pumpkin color.
Zoom, zoom.
Zoom is a great company. Their baits, the best. They are so great everybody knows it. No bait holds together through multiple fish caught better than a Zoom bait, believe me. Plus it's American made, which makes sense for the quality.
Okay, let's try not to mention too many brand names since this video isn't sponsored.
Only support American baits or you're gonna get tariffed, hoes.
Who cares? Some companies make some baits better than others, like Strike King, a Texan company.
Yeah, and whoever sells the worms in those blue cups make the best worms.
Bro, the brand of live worms doesn't make any difference. You could just dig them up yourself.
Ignore that. What rig do we do next?
Since that one took a while to get through, why don't we stay on the deep rigs and cover the drop shot?
Oh, great. The gayest rig out there.
Excuse me?
On Pride Month? Crazy.
Here we fucking go.
Wait a minute, he's right. 1 second I'm aiming directly at a guy, and then suddenly he lays down so I miss and he kills me? Shit is so stupid.
Joe thinks I'm talking about Call of Duty.
Oh, there's another kind of drop shot?
Yeah, it's this rig where you just tie off to a weight, and then you attach another line right above the weight on the main line to a little finesse lure, providing very good action and allowing you to do finesse fishing in deeper water.
That's actually a great description of the drop shot, Donald. Why do you hate it so much?
Because it's the most boring rig to use on the face of the planet that's not a bobber.
Hey, enough bobber slander already.
Most people who are into drop shots just stare at their $10,000 fish finder with 4D high-def 360 live feed and drive around to specific individual fish to dangle their 3-inch soft plastic in front of their faces. It's basically cheating and ruins any enjoyment you can get out of fishing.
Your diagnosis isn't too far off, to be honest. But there's no denying that this presentation catches fish, and lots of them.
So does drag netting and using explosives. What's the difference?
Dynamite is a lot cheaper than brand new fish finders, but it's impossible to deny that the drop shot is an effective rig, since the pros in Major League bass tournaments use them all the time with great success. There is no rig that will entice a finicky bass in 30-plus feet of water like the drop shot.
It's really where the sport of fishing gets pay to win. The rig itself isn't expensive, but the fact that you're fishing vertically while staring at a screen makes this like ice fishing in the summer in the worst way possible.
Your complaints are justified, but it is possible to use the rig without quote-unquote cheating using technology. Also, the fact that you gotta use ultralight gear with this setup can really hurt the chances of getting big fish up from the depths.
Not to mention you're using a 1 or 2/0 hook at most. This is some seriously small gear, but it doesn't change the fact that this is one of the most effective rigs in bass fishing. Even the most pressured fish sitting motionless on the bottom of the lake out of season might take a swipe at a drop shot.
I've had 40 fish days just using a drop shot. It puts fish in the boat for sure. I would seriously put it in S tier, although I know Don isn't gonna like that.
Of course, you prefer the method that has high-tech surveillance and is cheating. This rig belongs in F tier, F in this case, standing for funless.
I can assure you, filling your boat with fish on 6-pound test line is anything but funless. This is like arcade fishing where a 3-pounder is taking drag like it's a state record, and then you get a real big one on and it's like fighting a tuna or a marlin at sea.
Come on, dude. You're not even working the lure. You're just twitching it slightly.
Sounds like Donnie's sex life.
Got him.
Great. Thanks. You took the air right out of my argument, fucking asshole.
I'm gonna have to agree with Barack. The lack of lure action and sometimes morally questionable approach doesn't take too much away from the pure effectiveness of the rig. How about we put it in A tier since it kind of matches up to the Carolina rig in a lot of ways while having its own sets of challenges and advantages.
Very reasonable, George. I'm in.
You still don't even know what we're talking about. You were zoning out during most of that conversation.
But the way you said that was drippy. I'm into it.
I can also agree, but on the basis of the actual question, A tier it is.
Cheaters and poor sports. That's all I hear. I bet you guys only fish on beds in the spring.
First, Barack curses me, and then you question my sportsmanship on my own land? Y'all got hate in your veins, man. You gotta fucking chill out. Oh, I got one.
Wow.
Look how nature rewards those with the right attitude.
It's hard to argue with you when you have a fish on and I haven't caught anything.
I hate when people catch more fish than me.
Another smaller guy, but not bad.
Bigger than Donald's fish, at least.
Haters gonna hate, baiters gonna bait.
Nice fish, George. What's next for rigs?
What about the most legendary rig and my favorite, the Wacky Rig?
All right, fine. I already know this is going to be controversial.
This doesn't surprise me. The most brainless fisherman here loves the most brainless rig possible. This is just the Rigless hook again, but this time hooked up incorrectly. What a shame.
You don't know shit if you think this is a bad rig. Hooking the lure hamburger style instead of hot dog style is the best.
That analogy doesn't hold water, and this bait doesn't cover water.
The Wacky Rig really shouldn't work, but it does. That's the best way I can describe it theoretically. The physical description is a stick bait, like a Senko, hooked directly in the middle instead of the regular weedless worm hook way. This makes the lure have a more finesse-type action.
And bass can't get enough of it. I've caught hundreds of bass on the Wacky Rig. It's all I use when it comes to Senkos.
I will admit that it does catch fish against all odds, but that again works in favor of the Senko and not this insult to rigs.
Oh yeah, you don't catch anything but felony charges, bozo.
Who do you think you're talking to? Your tackle box is about as impressive as Barack's lunchbox.
Thank you. Someone finally said it. Michelle's snacks don't even work as chum.
Fine. More for me and Joe then.
No thanks, my worms taste better.
Oh my God. How did this spiral into roasting my lunch? I'm tempted to put the Wacky Rig in fishless now.
We would be throwing the list in the creek if we did that. How about we settle on S tier?
That's not settling, and it can't be that close to the Texas rig. It might be an effective way to catch fish, but it does have its disadvantages, like the fact that it's not for much deeper than 10 feet of water. Wind will make fishing this rig really tough, and there's no way you're casting it into heavy plant cover since you have an exposed hook point.
Don't forget that you're going to be going through multiple bags of Senkos, since hooking the bait in the middle usually ends with a bait ripped in half, especially since Senkos tear so easily.
All your complaints can be fixed by simply adjusting your gear for the situation. If you want to throw it into weeds, use a hook with a weed guard. If you're poor and want to conserve lures, then use plastic O-rings to fasten the bait to the hook even more. If you need to add more weight, use a jig head or a few anal beads to add some weight.
All your suggestions add another level of ugliness to this already ugly setup. Anyone putting anal beads on a weedless jig head and then hooking the Senko incorrectly should be tied to a power pole and slowly lowered into the murky depths of the Everglades.
The wacky anal beads combo will catch fish whether you like it or not.
We've lost the plot.
I cannot allow it to enter S tier, and A tier seems high for this too.
It's an enigma to rank the Wacky Rig because I almost don't want to rank it low since it's effective, but at the same time, it's not something I would use. It's not the way I prefer to work a Senko, and the Senko is really the only lure you use this on.
Not true. You can wacky rig all sorts of baits if you're brave enough, like creature baits, grubs, lizards, craws, and even tubes.
Take exactly none of this man's advice.
Comment if you wacky rig stuff other than Senkos, and if it works, let's absolutely ratio this idiot Dumple Still, Dumpy McFatfuck.
That's great, Joe. I'm sure you'll get one dude out there that's as dumb as you to comment. Normal people. If you see those wacky riggers in the comments, make them feel shame.
I don't want you to say riggers ever again.
Oh, that's my bad. What if I slang it up a little? What up, my rigger?
Sheesh!
What'd I say?
The way you said that, that's just not okay. I'm going to move on for the sake of my mental health. How about we put this in B or C tier? I'm fine with either. What do we think?
Fishless.
Super bait.
I think I'll come up to B tier on the Wacky Rig since it does get big fish to bite under docks and boats or near logs. A weirdly high number of people have told me their PB came from a Wacky Rig.
A bit low, but I'll take it. Wacky rigs will stand up to any lure out there.
Simply unacceptable. I'm using my presidential powers to lower it into C tier.
There's no way. You can't do that.
Wow, he actually did do it.
Elon got into the tier list software, so it's my decision until my term is done. Man, I love my guy, Elon. What a great guy. The best.
I can't believe this shit.
That's a wildly extraneous abuse of power.
Stop using your big Democrat words, Barack. How many more rigs are there?
Just a few. Let's see, what next?
Ooh, Neko Rig, another classic.
The Neko Rig. Wow. I've never heard about this one, and Sleepy knows it. That's unexpected.
That's what happens when you hang out with your wisest riggers.
The fuck did I just say about using that word? Stop!
Just don't say it when Barack is around and you're good.
Got it.
What is the Neko Rig anyway?
It's just the Wacky Rig, but with a weight inserted into one of the ends of the Senko.
Are you fucking serious? No way we're ranking the Wacky Rig again.
Hallelujah. Wacky riggers unite.
Joe, I will hurt you.
Last one, I swear.
Well, at least we know what a Wacky Rig is already, so this is pretty simple.
What does this rig even do that's different?
It's literally just the Wacky Rig with a nail weight shoved in one end, so it just has a slightly different action, as well as being able to fish it a little deeper while still having all the same downsides of the original.
Oh, so it's basically garbage?
It is, again, an unconventional approach, but yields results far beyond its looks. I still wouldn't use it myself, as I believe there are far better options for that depth, like the Carolina rig or the drop shot.
Adding a nail weight doesn't make this rig any more interesting, and I bet it still sinks pretty slow and hooks into every weed, unless you use a weedless jig head, which at that point makes you a silly person.
Maybe it doesn't sink as fast as your stock market, but it's still a great rig.
A small price to pay for salvation.
Whatever, I don't even like the regular Wacky Rig, and this thing is even worse in my eyes, so how about D or C tier?
Since these two will be on opposite ends again, why don't we put it in crappy, quick and easy?
Oh.
Very good. What's next? Trump, any suggestions?
I do at times use a punch rig to get deep into the plant cover of Florida lakes.
Ooh, a nice one. Perfect for getting into the heaviest weed beds an angler can face.
Honestly, not my favorite for that application, since a Flippin Jig does a better job, but there is some areas that a Flippin Jig or a tube can't get through, while the punch rig can get through any plant cover in existence if you throw it hard enough.
I'll admit that I have never really used a punch rig myself because it's just a little too heavy to go from fishing heavy plants to fishing under docks and trees.
Jigs are better in most scenarios, but the punch rig can do some real damage if you're fishing in places like Florida, where there's just miles of heavy water plants with monsters hidden within.
You can also fish all sorts of lures on this rig like creature baits, worms, and craws.
Yeah, it's got some versatility on that front, but the drawback is the bulk of this weight and the fact that you're gonna need to use a specific heavy-duty setup with like 50-pound test braid to haul the fish out of the jungle.
Really only useful in places like a swamp, and an argument can be made for better options like a frog.
Wow. Nice suggestion, dummy.
Keep up that talk and I will punch rig you in the jaw. Put this in crappy tier since there are better options.
I'm cool with that. Let's cover one of my personal favorites, the Ned Rig, and also the Shaky Head rig can be lumped in here as well.
This is a good pair of rigs. Lots of anglers, both casual and professional, choose these rigs since they work in a ton of different situations. Very solid, very consistent.
Agreed. To explain the setup, it is a small yet dense jig head rigged with a short yet thick soft plastic, like a Senko cut in half. The bait will stick up at an angle off the bottom due to the weight of the jig head, and you just do little pops and hops for a killer action that bass inhale.
It's a simple design and a simple action, but they both work great. There are very few downsides to these rigs, but the worst one is that they'll catch a ton of smaller bass, and you might miss a big bite being the most popular target around.
Catching a ton of fish being the only downside doesn't seem like a downside.
The smaller profile of the bait and the subtle action make for a fish magnet, but the bigger fish might not always go for it since they may not deem it worth their energy with the smaller sized lure.
If it catches small ones, it can catch big ones. The Shaky Head might do better for volume of fish rather than size, but there's a reason this rig does so well in tournaments and in places with tons of pressure from overfishing. It's a great rig that succeeds in loads of different conditions.
The other slight downside is the exposed hook point from this rig, so you'll want to stay away from weed beds or try a weedless Ned Rig.
All in all, it seems like a fun little rig to pop off the bottom and catch like 30 fish a day. Maybe it can't do it all, but it covers most bases that a lure should cover.
I fully agree with that synopsis. Maybe not quite S tier since it has some disadvantages, but overall a solid performer and an ace in my book.
I don't have a problem with that. I see lots of people use them all year long and catch hundreds of bass.
Perfect placement, you can't go wrong.
Cool, just a couple more rigs to go over. Let's finish off the rigs named for states and rank the Alabama rig, also known as the Umbrella Rig.
Nice, I was wondering when we would get to this one.
Ah yes, why fish with one lure when you can fish with 10 instead?
What the hell is this monstrosity? Looks like a fucking chandelier.
It's a multi-lure setup similar in theory to a squid bar for tuna fishing. You can mimic an entire school of bait fish with this rig, and you can even hook multiple fish if you're lucky.
The rig is so good that it's banned in most pro tournaments, and some pussy-ass states like California and Minnesota legally limit the number of hooks you're allowed to have on this rig to 3.
So what's the point? You can't have a school of fish with just 3 fish.
You can run any number of dummy lures with no hooks on them, and it won't hurt your chances of catching fish too bad as long as the lures near the back have hooks, since the fish almost always target the lures at the back of the school anyway.
If there's even a chance the fish attack the dummy lures, then this is a dummy rig.
I'll say that this rig is great for certain times of the year like pre-spawn and deeper in the fall when fish ignore most standard lures. Plenty of downsides though.
Right, it's an incredibly bulky rig that is pretty tough to throw all day long, so it makes for a better change of pace approach than something you use all the time.
Bulk like this comes with a distinct possibility of snagging weeds and heavy structure, so you'll want to be careful or you might lose an expensive rig and 10 lures at once.
It's such a big rig that lots of fish might be intimidated by it, with the upside being that giant bass might be more inclined to chase this rig than any one lure.
Yeah, this rig can pull giants for sure.
Seems like a big risk. Imagine spending like 30 bucks on a lure Christmas tree just to snap off on a log. I would go home immediately.
Knowing the location is very important when throwing this rig. If you fish it in clear open water, then it can attract fish from every direction, and you can find a lot of success that way.
I think it's a good rig for the right scenario, and if you manage to hook 2 fish or a giant, then it's all worthwhile. I think Big Bass Bites is a perfect place for this rig.
I second that placement. A great rig with some downsides that can catch big fish if used at the right time and place. Not something I'd be using at a pond with heavy cover like this one.
I would rather tie on a coat hanger with 5 lines attached to anal-beaded wacky rigs than throw this piece of garbage.
B tier is okay. Let's rank the first variant of Swimbait on this list, the pre-rigged Swimbait.
When talking about swimbaits, it's tough to know which kind you're talking about since there's like 4 different types.
What I'm referring to for this particular variant is the pre-rigged Swimbaits. They are very aesthetically accurate to the fish they're mimicking, but don't allow you to switch out the soft plastic body since the plastic is molded perfectly around the weighted jig head.
I've seen plenty of these pre-rigged swimmers find their way into tackle boxes, but I honestly think they are the biggest scam in bass fishing. Just because it visually looks good doesn't mean it's the most effective bait out there.
But they look exactly like little fishies, and I don't have to do anything but tie them on.
That's how they trick idiots like you. You see the eyeball and the pretty colors, and you're fooled into paying like 24 bucks for 3 of them.
Facts. They aren't that bad, but regular soft plastics that you rig up yourself cost far less and are more effective. These ones might catch fish, sure, but there's plenty of better options.
I agree. More of a beginner lure since it's easy to tie on and start fishing, but I have problems with the snag rate and durability of these.
All I hear is nitpicking on a lure that catches fish. You can't tell me that these aren't the most lifelike lures on the market.
May be true, but you're paying for a piece of manufactured art instead of paying for an effective lure.
I've never heard anyone catching a big one on these. Even when there's not a treble hook on the bottom, you're mostly going to be catching weeds, logs, and rocks since it's a pretty heavy lure with exposed hooks.
You're definitely not fishing this thing in heavy cover, and it's tough to fish from the shore.
I'll go one step further and say it's a piece of shit lure and nobody should buy these.
That's a little harsh. There's something to be said about how well it can cover a ton of water.
Covers a ton of water shittily.
I'll have you know I've caught a dozen fish with these.
How long have you been fishing with them?
My whole life.
That sounds like more of a confession than a flex.
It was also in saltwater fishing for striper. I've never used these in freshwater with any success.
I can see how these could work both in saltwater and freshwater, but this is likely the worst variant of Swimbait on the market. That being said, it'll still catch fish.
The fact you can't exchange the lure or hook if it gets damaged or snagged means that it's an expensive approach for mid-results.
Fishless is the only acceptable ranking for this scam.
Come on, they're not that bad. People even use them to troll for trout.
So they work for every species except for largemouth. Good to know.
I'm thinking crappie tier. Not a lure any professional angler uses, but a beginner could try it as a way to practice working better swim baits.
I could see that. It could catch a lot of fish while targeting schools of bait fish in open water. I can go C tier.
I'm gonna let it pass, but I'm getting ready to veto another one of these takes, Barack.
Good to know. Last rig I can think of is from the bass fisherman over in Japan, the Tokyo Rig.
Sweet, is it a tentacle monster lure?
Pipe down, masturbator.
The tube fits that description.
If you're both finished, I'll explain it. The Tokyo Rig is kind of a hybrid between the Texas Rig, the Carolina Rig, and the Drop Shot.
Wow, 3 top-tier rigs all put into one sounds pretty good. Too bad it's Japanese, therefore drowned in tariffs, therefore not viable.
That's not fair.
You want fair? Stick to American rigs.
I've never seen or heard of this rig, and I've seen most things bass. Has anyone actually thrown this before?
I have not.
Nah, looks too complicated.
Honestly, no, but I've heard it's underrated and the best rig you can fish for super deep scenarios like 40 plus feet deep. You can use a variety of hooks, weights, and baits to hone your presentation, working it similarly to the Drop Shot, but much heavier gear, which means it's also much better at handling big fish than the Drop Shot and is less likely to snag around weeds and structure.
I have to say, the presentation leaves a lot to be desired. It might just be this image, but it looks very bulky.
You can certainly use different gear for the water clarity, but to your point, probably not better than a Drop Shot in super clear water.
I just think there's a reason we haven't adopted it here in the States.
Probably because it's not named after a state exclusive club.
Maybe not a must-have for every angler, but it's certainly something to give a go if you routinely fish drop-offs in deeper water that's not super clear.
I don't like it.
Me neither. Looks worse than a drop shot, and only pussies fish with those.
I don't consider your opinions valid on this. George?
Seems to me like a mid-tier rig that is pretty specialized for deep water, but I could see a setup that could go shallow and work decently.
Sure, we thinking crappie?
I'm down with crappie.
Very good. Can we move on to actual lures now instead of this whole list being rigged?
Maybe it was a long time to spend on rigs, but I felt it was important to set the stage for the lures by discussing the possible setups for soft plastics.
This is kind of turning into a fishing tutorial, which is not a bad thing. I'm sure a lot of people watching could learn something from our babbling.
Give us a comment down below if you have experience with any of the rigs or if we missed your favorite.
Bastards didn't include the Ohio rig. What a load of malarkey.
All right, let's move on to jigs, since they are very similar to rigs in that you can use separate soft plastics with most jigs, yet they are good enough on their own as well.
Jigs are powerful. Bass love crawdads, and jigs are the best at mimicking them.
Jigs can mimic craw moms too.
We can clear the board since rigs are more like ways to fish with lures instead of the lures themselves, plus we can stay organized.
Nerd!
Just leave the pre-rigged swim bait up there since it's really more of a lure than a rig.
Yeah, sure. So we get what a jig is. It's just a weighted jig head with some type of skirt covering the hook and giving the bait a lot of action. There are some key differences between each jig, mainly concerning the shape and size of the weight for different applications.
One jig is much the same as another. I really only use football jigs myself.
We can start with the football head jig. Take it away, bushy boy.
To me, the football jig is the most versatile of all the jigs. You can fish it deep, shallow, in heavy cover, drop-offs, fallen trees, you name it.
The football-shaped head with a weedless hook makes this jig almost completely snag-proof. Perfect for bouncing off rocks.
And if you don't hook anything, you can always head to the park and play catch.
I hate you.
I'll play catch with you, Joe. Just stand still, and I will launch this ounce of tungsten at your head.
I'm wide open.
Back to jigs. Any recommendations for a football jig setup?
I like a green and brown or black and blue jig with a matching trailer like a craw or a pork chunk made for jigs. Simple, yet effective.
A respectable setup made for giant bass to inhale like Donnie does with Big Macs.
Or like how you inhale the air surrounding the heads of any kids you meet.
They smell good.
Definitely top tier for this jig. Does it make Superbait tier?
Easily. You can do so much with it, and it catches huge fish all the time. I always have a football jig tied off when I'm spending a day on the water. It's the best jig, and a super bait for sure.
Jigs are by far one of the best lures for bass, and this one does it all. The only time it's not the ideal lure to choose is when it's a super weedy and shallow body of water. Then a different jig would be better, like a grass or flippin' jig.
I've used every jig imaginable in every situation, and the football jig is the best one.
Well, since you're such a master in the art of jigs, why don't you take the lead for this segment and we'll be the judge?
Fine by me.
Bush is getting jiggy with it.
So the best is clearly the football jig at S tier since it can be used to do anything, but is best in deeper water, hard structure type of environments. Then the swim jigs are up there as my second favorite jig at A tier since it's just as effective as other jigs, except it's meant to be slowly retrieved rather than jigged the whole time, hence the swim in the name.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
You can have some different approaches with a swim jig like a white color and trailer to mimic a shad slowly cruising the bottom. You can fish it anywhere, but is less suited to heavy cover than the other jigs.
I would like to mention that I think this is a shitty jig since you can't feel anything on the bottom because you don't even hit the bottom much at all.
That depends how you work it. You can totally get a picture of what's on the bottom by using the stop and go method of retrieval. Do this by letting the bait sink and hit the bottom every few seconds, and then continue slowly reeling in as you would. The swim jig works differently from the other jigs, but it still is just as effective, and the pros all use them too.
Okay, tough to argue with that.
I too love to work a swim jig, and A tier is a fair placement. Keep on going, George.
Next is the grass or flippin jig. As the name suggests, these jigs are designed for pitching under docks or into plant cover. Great for shallow water and either natural or man-made structure. These bulky jigs may not be the best for catching dozens of fish, but the fish that do hit are usually larger than your average bass, making it a great candidate for B tier, but it might be an S tier bait if you live in places like Florida. Keep in mind, you will need a heavy braided line and a heavy rod to haul giants out of their holes.
Bush is cooking.
I would just add that there's a bit of skill needed to work this lure since pitching into heavy cover is much harder than normal casting. You got to get pretty accurate to even operate this lure effectively.
I agree, but that's half the fun of flipping.
It can be very fun, especially when you bounce a fat jig off someone's speedboat to get into the perfect pocket for a monster.
Well, that's rude.
Think I give a fuck? I've been hitting random people's docks, boats, and jet skis for years. I specifically target pontoon boats for maximum bounce.
I do too, but I always break off on some jerk's propeller.
You guys are the reason Karens run out onto their docks and screech whenever someone fishes near their property.
Let them bitch and moan. They don't own the water.
Next one is the casting or classic Arky style jigs, kind of like football jigs, but without that classic football head. These jigs work like any basic jig and have been used for as long as I've been fishing.
Which is like a million years of advancement in this hobby, so you already know the casting jig is reliable.
You just called me old, but it's still facts. Not much to say about these jigs that we haven't already covered with the football jig and others, but it's another do-it-all kind of jig and is very effective and customizable. I think it's an ace in the jig you should be using, if for some reason a football jig is not available.
Acceptable? Bush is like a jig guru.
Is that all the jigs? I thought there was only one.
Nah, there's a few more. We haven't mentioned the finesse jigs yet. Any jig you can think of has a mini version that may catch a bunch more fish depending on the day and the spot you're at.
I've often used finesse jigs in clear water scenarios and when the fish are finicky. They catch a lot more fish, but they tend to be a bit smaller in size for obvious reasons.
Why would I want to run a smaller jig? I want to catch the biggest fish when I'm jig fishing. Big jigs catch big fish.
That's only true up to a point. There are days that a big fish would take a finesse jig and would not take a normal jig. That's why when you're fishing with a friend, it's a good idea to run a normal jig and have the other guy run a finesse style of the same type so you can see which size is more desirable for the conditions.
Wait a second, other guy? Did you just insinuate that women can't fish?
Whoa, microaggression. That's fucked up, yo.
Sheesh, maybe I misspoke. Not like you guys actually care.
Because of Barack's deranged, misogynistic views, I'm going to commission the Department of Women's Outdoors, where women will be forced to go hunting and fishing or they'll be deported to an El Salvadoran prison. It's going to be a huge success. Everybody knows it.
Sounds great.
So finesse jigs are a solid ace too. They may even be better than the larger sizes like a mini flippin' jig. There's even finesse football jigs out there.
I like footballs, but the mini Nerf footballs are truly the most fun.
That's not what I meant at all. Next jig I've seen people use through the years is a hair jig. This is a jig commonly used in saltwater, but people also use smaller ones for bass fishing with soft plastics as trailers.
I've never seen a single person use a hair jig in freshwater.
Yeah, most people started shaving their hairy jigs in the 80s and 90s. Only a few brave or lesbian women have hair on their jigs in 2025.
I'm convinced he hasn't known we've been talking about lures this whole time.
I got one.
Let's go. It's been a while since we had a bite.
It'll be like that. There are times out here I can't get a bite all day, then I catch 5 in 10 minutes.
Guys, it's a big one.
Oh shit, he's not lying. It's a giant.
Fuck that, he's bigger, much bigger. It's a legit Donnie.
Wow, I am super unhappy right now.
I got the net, Joe. Just don't force it.
Here he comes.
Got him. What a monster.
That's what I'm talking about. Secret pond.
Wow, this has got to be my PB. Somebody grab my scale.
No way you have this shitty old metal scale with the spring.
That's garbage. I got a digital scale right here.
Let's see. 9 pounds, 6 ounces.
Yeah. That beats my previous PB by like 3 pounds.
My PB is 10.3. Still got you by a bit, Joe.
That's okay. I'm not complaining about that monster, and on the Wacky Rig, no less.
Oh my fucking God. Why?
Congrats, Joey. Now you felt the fight of a real Texas giant.
And I won't forget it for as long as I live.
That's wishful thinking, but I'll try to remind you when I can.
All right, let's get this Donnie back in the water to eat a few more Happy Meals.
I'm surprised you weren't thinking about mounting it since it's your PB.
It's a big fish, yeah. But I wouldn't mount anything smaller than 10. It's not like that 15-pounder George has mounted in the game room.
Big Mama could eat your PBs, and don't you forget it.
I respect the release, Joe. It's always better to see the legendary fish swim off rather than end the legend on the spot.
We got a picture. That's good enough for me.
Now that that's settled, where were we?
We're on hair jigs.
One of my favorite categories. Shame most girls keep it smooth now.
You should leave these in your saltwater tackle box where they belong.
They can certainly be effective, especially paired with a grub or a fluke, and worked like a swim jig, but there are much better options at this point in the development of lures, so I kind of just want to say crappy tier on the hair jig.
That was my thinking as well. It could even go D tier if you have an entire tackle box dedicated to jigs like I do. The others just outperform the hair jig in nearly all cases.
That's got to be all the jigs, right?
Well, there is one more that I can think of, but it's kind of a hybrid lure, a mix between a jig and a spinnerbait. This bladed jig is called the Chatterbait, and it works like a swim jig, but with the added blade to give off tons of vibration like a spoon or a spinnerbait.
Chatterbait? I thought that was that website where you yank it with strangers.
You got to get off the internet, man.
This is one of those lures that's been around a while but has really picked up in popularity in recent years. Something this lure and I have in common.
This lure has skyrocketed in use amidst professionals and bass tournaments for a reason. It covers water like a spinnerbait, goes through cover like a swim jig, gets reaction strikes like a crankbait, and is weedless enough to fish in vegetation while still creating a ton of vibration. This lure is no joke, folks.
When I started throwing it a lot, I never looked back. The Z-Man Chatterbait has got me a lot of good fish over the years, especially when you're fishing muddy or murky waters.
I'm partial to the Strike King jackhammer. Whether you want to run a trailer on this thing or not, it just plain catches fish if you work it right.
And it's really not that hard to get a grip on what you're supposed to do with this lure. It's as easy to learn as a spinnerbait.
I've never even seen this thing, but it sounds like the best lure I've never tried.
I got like 10 jackhammers in every color. You can pick a few out, Joe.
No way, thanks, Bushy.
Let me get a gold one for the ponds at my golf courses.
By all means, get all jacked up. I'm seriously considering putting this bait in S tier comparable to the football jig. But I still think the football jig has a higher ceiling for big fish than the chatterbait. It's still really close. Help me out with this one, guys.
I think S tier is a little generous. Sure, it's an ace, but it might be a bit overhyped. I've always preferred the spinnerbait, considering they do the same thing.
I think spinnerbaits are a smaller profile in the water and work slower than the chatterbait, so there's a considerable difference. I love to use both.
Spinnerbaits are the best. I only chatterbait if Jill's out of the house. Otherwise, it's a quick yank in my bed as I pretend to nap.
I'm going to sign an executive order that somehow prevents you from accessing internet boobies of any kind.
Please don't. That would hurt my quality of life considerably.
Then join me and put chatterbait in ace. It's a great lure, but not quite a super bait.
I agree. There's too much at stake.
It's close, but sure, A tier is okay.
Very good. And since we had to talk about the spinnerbait at the same time, why don't we rank it next?
Ah, yes. The OG. I've been spinning blades and spanking babes for as long as I remember.
So for the last 5 minutes?
No, Dumpy. It's been over 70 years of me pulling spinnerbaits through the water and catching big fish. There is no better lure in the spring or in the clouds or even at night.
The spinnerbait is a favorite for all anglers in one condition or another. It's the perfect speed and vibration to cover lots of water.
The history of this lure is nearly as old as bass fishing as a sport. When the veterans came home from World War II in the mid-1940s, bass fishing exploded in popularity, and that was also when the spinnerbait was developed, taking inspiration from the classic inline spinner.
There's a reason it's lasted so long in the hobby. It's a very easy lure to work, and it is extremely effective.
There's nothing like fishing a black spinnerbait in the dead of night and hooking up with a giant.
Why use a black one at night? Won't the fish not see it?
You might want to have a full moon for yourself, but they know where the lure is because of the vibrations.
It will outperform most lures in low light conditions. Are you guys partial to the willow blade or the Colorado blade?
I've been fishing them for forever, but I really didn't know there was a difference between round and pointy.
The difference is the amount of vibration it gives off. The round Colorado blades give out a ton of vibration, so they're better in the dark or in murky waters, while the willow blade is better in the daytime or clear water conditions.
My favorite is the gold willow blade spinnerbait in the summer. It's best used on a cloudy day in a muddy pond, but it slays them.
Nah, the best got to be the all-white spinnerbait in the springtime pre-spawn.
Of course, you're the white spinnerbait supremacist.
He's got a point. The white spinnerbait seems to do very well in the spring and when the water is clearer. I will fish nothing else when the water temps are in the 50s.
You will slay pre-spawn bass with a spinnerbait, and it might end up being one of the biggest fish you catch all year, since the big females go shallow before any of the smaller bass do.
It's a killer in the spring, but it'll produce results year-round. One of the best lures out there and a must-have in every tackle box. I think the spinnerbait deserves the S tier, even over big hitters like the chatterbait.
Definitely a super bait. It's one of the first lures you should recommend to a noob like Joe.
I'm an experienced angler. Shut your bitch ass up.
Okay, let's stick to bladed baits and rank the classic spinners and spoons.
The inline spinner and the spoons are some of the oldest lures in existence, but the progression of lures has come a long way since then.
That's putting it lightly. These are so old your grandpa stopped using them before his balls dropped.
They can still catch a bass or two. Maybe not as good as the spinnerbait, but still attracts bites from a fair distance.
Maybe pussy-ass trout fishermen can use them, but if you're using these for bass in 2025, then you should be sent to El Salvador.
They are great for trout, though. Doesn't that help?
Not only trout, but these are great lures for a variety of species. It's really the quintessential multi-species lure.
Is this a multi-species lure tier list or a bass fishing lure tier list?
Well, I guess it's really a list for bass.
Then these are shit. Really only good for catching all the 1-pound bass in the area.
If a professional bass fisherman used these in a tournament, he would be laughed off the lake. He would be pestered off the pond. He would be ridiculed off the river.
Trump's bigotry shows itself again. You say he, like a woman can't be a pro bass fisherwoman.
That's because there aren't any.
What about Christine Fisher, Kim Bain, Anastasia Patterson, and Maggie Jo Carcello?
You just made those people up.
No, I didn't. They're actually pro anglers and compete at the highest level.
It's either fake news or DEI, so who gives a shit?
They exist, and they would outfish you any day.
It's not like it's a physical sport. I'm sure there are ladies out there with more time behind the rod than any of us.
That sounds sexual, therefore I cannot take any of this seriously.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm done entertaining the prospect of changing your minds to be less sexist. Give me a letter grade for these lures.
F tier, you're not ever catching anything big on these, so why use them at all?
I'm right down there with you. I'm no trout fisherman. I catch bass and catfish like a fucking Sigma.
I wasn't high on them, but now I feel disrespected. Trout are pretty and pretty tasty.
And irrelevant. If this list considered other fish, then it would be S tier since spoons are basically the best lure in saltwater.
I think you can get some major hits on spinners and spoons when you fish for smallmouth bass. That's got to be worth something, right?
I guess they're fine for smallmouth and spotted bass. Maybe a D tier for that?
Fine.
I can settle on deficient.
Malarkey, but I actually don't use them, and I forget what my argument is based on.
Since we're still doing bladed lures, let's rank the buzzbait.
Sure, the spinnerbait's cracked out topwater cousin. This is a good one.
Great summary of this lure, actually. This is really just a spinnerbait that creates surface disturbance with its blade rather than vibrations underwater.
Buzzbaits are a bit tough to rank. The fact that it's a topwater makes it instantly a fun lure to fish with, since any hit is visible and explosive. But the buzzbait is not really the best topwater, in my opinion, although it does have its moments.
The buzzbait is flashy, but I think it's mid. The lure runs so fast that not only will you burn right by some fish, but the fish you do get to strike might straight up miss your lure entirely.
Those are fair criticisms. But there is a time in the hottest days of the summer at dusk I find the buzzbait is actually very useful and can get some big fish to smash it.
It's a bit niche to only use a lure when it's hot as dicks out, but there are times when bass only hit you if you're going as fast as your reel can pull.
It's a weird concept, but it's true. There's always a period in the summertime when the fish are only hitting the fastest lures. If you can't get the fish to hit jigs, soft plastics, or anything all day long and you need a completely different tempo, the buzzbait might be your answer.
It can get big hits, too. It shares the big fish capabilities that spinnerbaits have.
It's a good high-tempo lure, and it might get some aggressive strikes, but you will miss fish. There's a reason all the hard baits that move quickly and constantly have at least 2 treble hooks on them. The fact that there's only 1 big hook on these means you will have the worst hookup ratio of any topwater. Even frogs will hook fish more efficiently than the buzzbait, and that's sad.
I think B tier is a good spot for the buzzbait since they aren't the most effective lures for most of the year, but when it's on, and you can have so much fun running it, especially when you catch a monster.
That's fair. Buzzbaits can catch some big fish. I remember when they first gained popularity and everyone was trying it out. Kind of like how chatterbaits are today.
Same. My buddy Jimmy Houston was like a pioneer of the buzzbait. Won a couple tournaments using it.
Okay, boomers, that was like the 80s. But yeah, solid B tier. Nothing hits like a buzzbait on a hot day while you get a little buzzed yourself. Which reminds me, can you toss me a beer, Bro Obama?
I got you.
Thanks. What's next? Bladed worm?
What the fuck is that?
Wow, nice. Filler for F tier. Great choice, Joe.
What you talking about? This one is good.
No, it's not.
Who was your fishing mentor? The guy at the hardware store?
Tell me why this is bad. Tell me!
It's a pre-rigged worm with a blade that barely spins, if at all. This is the poorest excuse for a pre-rig I've ever seen.
It's all off. The worm is meant to pop off the bottom and worked slow, where bladed baits are meant to keep moving for the most part. This thing does nothing good well.
I've never even heard of anyone who managed to catch a fish on this, and I've caught fish on gummy worms.
Poor quality, poor action, no fish. Perfect fishless quality lure.
You guys are, you don't know anything.
Name one time you caught a fish with this bullshit.
Oh yeah, that time I fucked your mother, I fished that pond out back.
He's completely irrational. Just move on.
Your mom was tight.
You know what, Joe? I'm deporting your masseuse as we speak.
Ah, you can't do that.
Not such a happy ending this time, huh?
Okay, Barack, while they go down the rabbit hole of degeneracy, let's take out the garbage. F tier is the only acceptable outcome for this.
That's correct. Do not buy this. Okay, only bladed lure I have left is the Underspin.
This is just another forgettable lure, nothing more.
Oh, come on. That's not fair. It's pretty cool.
It's basically just a hybrid of a Swimbait and a Spinnerbait, but it does nothing better than either approach.
I would argue that it can be a good cold water lure, since it's not as prominent in its vibrations as the Chatterbait or the Spinnerbait, but still gives off the light vibrations as well as having a great action with the Swimbait.
All I hear is it's not as good as a spinnerbait at what spinnerbaits do. You know, you can also put a swimbait on a spinnerbait as a trailer and it's just better, right?
It's still the most finesse of the bladed lures and has some promise for, again, cold water and pressured fish.
I think Donnie's right. Spinnerbaits can be just as slow and finesse as the underspin, and it's just better.
See, George knows best.
It's better in deeper and colder water than a spinnerbait. Something you don't have a lot of experience with, George.
Maybe you have more time freezing your ass off and catching nothing than I do, sure.
I hate how accurate that is. What about C-tier?
I had no idea this lure existed until this very moment.
Fine. You can give it crappy tier, Barack. There's better options for sure, but it could be okay for lakes up north.
Okay, cool. That's better than I thought.
It's more generous than I would be since you questioned me, but fine.
Now that bladed lures are over, let's dive into the rabbit hole of soft plastics.
There is no limit to what you can shape with a little melted plastic. I've made my own soft plastics from molds in my garage, and they work just as well, as long as you conform to one body shape or another.
For sanity purposes, we can jam most into similar fitting categories, but worms are a whole video by themselves.
That's where things can get tough, but I've narrowed worms down into a few styles while the other soft plastics can be grouped by body design.
Cool, let's start with gummy worms.
That's not what I had in mind at all.
Well, Bush was talking about using them, and I remember catching a fish on a Swedish fish one time.
Gummies are a perfect example of how largemouth will eat almost anything.
If you're using candy to go fishing, you might be a child predator.
The two are not mutually exclusive.
Let's get real here. This is candy, not designed for catching fish, therefore bad.
Hey man, Haribo gummy worms are comparable to some soft plastics out there.
No way, dude. You want something with a ton of sugar on there so they don't spit it out. Sour gummy worms are killer.
Compared to all the actual soft plastics, they are not nearly as durable or effective. It's just a funny way to get a bass to bite.
Realistically, not an actual lure, more of a fishing challenge. Fishless.
Fat ass isn't on board with candy. Nobody saw that coming.
Don't fuck with me, Joe. You would fish with ice cream if you could.
I've tried, but it melts too quick in the water. Great scent dip for your bait, though.
You're dipping your lures in ice cream like it's smelly jelly? That's very on brand for you.
It works, but it makes my ice cream taste funny.
We're getting off topic. Where do we rank these gummies?
Oh, I love gummies. Easy way to get stoned as a bone.
Joe, I'm not talking about edibles.
Just put them in fishless. It's not even a lure.
Put them in D tier. They won't hold up very well. And there's better lures for sure, but they still work.
I gotta put them in F tier or this list loses all credibility.
Oh, whatever. Put your candy fishing stories in the comments so we can prove how good they are.
Okay, can we do an actual lure this time?
We're supposed to be on soft plastic worms.
Sweet. Can we do the weedless worm pre-rig?
Oh, great. More filler for fishless tier. When did we let Joe take the wheel of the list?
No way the gummies are equal to the pre-rigged worm.
You're right, Sleepy. The gummies are probably better than this insult to lures.
You couldn't pay me to run this ugly ass thing. Zero aura.
You guys just have no respect for a good old-fashioned lure. These pre-rigs were here since the start.
The start of mediocre fishing lures?
The start of convenience in fishing. You just tie it on and start fishing, no hassle.
You can't be serious. Putting a plastic worm on a hook has to be the easiest rigging ever. It takes no more than 10 seconds, and that's if you suck at it.
Joe, you're not dragging this thing out of fishless. Pre-rigged weedless worms cost $1.50 each, and they still aren't even worth that price.
Malarkey!
I'm gonna put a 200% tariff on whoever makes this bullshit.
Just move on to something good for fuck's sake.
Okay, fine. How about we cover the legendary Senkos and other stickbaits now?
Here we go! Senko's for the win!
For once, I'll agree with you, Joe. There's nothing on the market more effective than a fresh pack of Gary Yamamoto's.
A classic Yamamoto Senko is the bread and butter of bass fishing, especially from the shore.
I gotta hand it to them Japanese bass fishermen. They absolutely cooked with this one.
Senkos were actually born in the US, created by Gary Yamamoto, who was born in Hawaii, just like me.
Allegedly.
I just got my PB on one of these bad boys, so I might be based, but this is borderline the best soft plastic out there.
Never even mentioned borders around me, Sleepy. Also, wacky rigs are still for idiots.
The fact that you can catch fish with this on nearly any rig we listed makes the stickbait one of the most versatile lures out there.
Senkos are a true superbait. Nothing quite matches them in the rate they catch fish in nearly any situation. I love using a cut Senko for a Shaky Head or Ned Rig as well.
You can do nearly anything with them. You can go deep, shallow, with weights, without, in the weeds, in the rocks. You can even topwater a Senko and it'll work.
This is the lure that made me put down the hook and bobber and really start getting into lures and different rigs. It's like a gateway lure to everything else.
This is one of those lures you buy from the beginning and keep on buying until the end. Gary Yamamoto isn't the only company making Senkos either, so be sure to experiment with different rigs, sizes, and colors.
Sure, Yum Dingers work just fine. Plus they hold together better than the Garys, and you can buy them by the fuck ton. But the Yamamotos seem to generally get more bites than any other.
Senkos are also not the only stickbait out there. Any lure that's roughly stick-shaped can count here too. I've already mentioned the Zoom Centipede, which is a great lure, but there's plenty more. None are quite as legendary as the Senko, though.
I love the fact that you can just raw dog a Senko on a weightless hook and just start fishing. What's all your favorite Senko colors or setups?
I just Texas rig them with a stick weight in the head, and I usually go with green pumpkin or baby bass color.
I always use these Bass Pro Tournament Series brand stickos, which are light silver with white or blue flakes.
I use black or gray Senkos with gold flakes. I'll use some smaller ones too on a jig head or a trailer for a jig.
All right, enough comparing sticks. We're grown men. Just put Senkos in S tier and move on.
Fair enough.
And speed it up a little too. We all understand what a soft plastic is. Let's just give our quick takes so we can get through all these before my term is over.
At once my liege, straight tail worms next.
My worm is super straight, man. Straighter than any of yours, that's for sure.
I have the straightest worm both figuratively and literally, and everyone knows it.
Mine curves slightly to the left.
Figures.
Seems like a vague description. What exactly are we talking about?
Basically any plastic worm that isn't a stickbait but also doesn't have any curly or swimmy tail. A few examples include the trick worm, the cut tail worm, the robo worm, and other various finesse style worms.
The Zoom trick worm is not bad at all, especially on a Texas rig.
The trick worm is another killer soft plastic like the Senko, although not quite as popular. It's similar to a stickbait, but far less stiff for more action, and it's more buoyant as well.
That's funny. Less stiff usually means less action. In the bedroom anyway.
You dirty dog, you.
Let's not trick the audience by saying trick worms are better than Senkos, Obama.
They aren't better than Senkos per se, but it's a similar bait with a few differences mainly in density and shape, making them better than Senkos for certain approaches like the Carolina rig.
You fish a trick worm, Bush?
Occasionally. I like using them as topwaters to mimic a water snake the best.
There's many other variants of the straight-tailed worm, but none I like more than the trick worm or the robo worm. The robo worm being much better for finesse rigs like the drop shot.
Seems like a versatile class of worms that could easily catch a ton of fish.
That's right. Even the cut-tail worm has its place as a good soft plastic or trailer for a swim jig, especially in cold water when you don't want a ton of tail action.
I wouldn't want a ton of tail action either if I were married to Michelle. Sounds painful for you.
Fucking asshole.
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
How do you even cope with that amount of damage? Must be some kind of ointment or something.
Where are we ranking the straight-tailed worms, Bush? These idiots never fished with them.
I despise finesse fishing, it's true, but I like a trick worm when I'm somehow out of Senkos. I'd say A tier.
That's not bad. Solid and consistent performance.
A tier sounds good. Nothing bad about them, really?
Cool. Let's move on to curly fries.
I'm sure you meant ribbon-tailed worms, right? We aren't ranking potatoes.
Great, now I'm hungry.
What else is new?
Well, India and Pakistan are fighting.
Oh, that's rough. Imagine the smell.
You're not funny. This is not funny.
Chill out, dude. It's way the hell over there anyway.
I will not. They are both nuclear powers.
Ooh, imagine the radioactive smell.
I'm trying not to, but I'm still smelling it.
Donald, is that really all you can think of for this major conflict as the leader of the free world?
I think I can tariff them both even more for being cringe. So that's another positive.
Wow.
If you don't want my honest opinion, don't bring it up. Pretty simple.
Let's get back to lures so my heart rate returns to normal. Where were we?
Curly worms.
I like the big curlies. You might catch nothing on them, but you also might hook a giant.
I do love a big purple culprit worm on a Texas rig. It's a great way to get an absolute toad to bite when nothing else will work.
I'd much prefer a Senko or a trick worm. Curly worms are a little too wavy, squiggly, fruity, pride parade-y for me personally.
You can't be serious, dude. Anything remotely homoerotic about ribbon-tail worms is projected from your own twisted mind.
Whatever, man. Keep waving your little girly ribbon around all the fish flamboyantly.
Maybe I will. Make America gay again.
You guys are bugging. Purple worm catches fish. End of story.
I think it's the perfect B-tier lure. It's very solid and goes great on a Carolina rig or a Texas rig. Being such a big target, it obviously attracts big bites for the most part, but smaller ribbon-tail lures would yield more fish.
Don't use the smaller ones. Just use these as a tool to hook giant bass in the summer near weed beds as God intended.
B tier's the way. Next.
Why don't we move on to the... Oh, that's a fish on.
Here we go, Barack. Finally you got into one.
It was only a matter of time before a puny fish decided to eat his finesse lure. Big whoop. Probably a crappie or something.
That's no crappie. It's a monster.
It's Donnie's twin. Hold on, bro.
Oh no, he's dragging me into the lilies.
Tighten that drag and haul him out of there. Quick.
Okay, I'm back in open water.
Take your time. Don't let the bastard jump.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Joe, you're standing on land. Is somebody gonna grab the net or what? The fuck are we doing?
I got it.
Can we trust you with that?
Guys, quickly, please.
Of course, I got this for you to bring her over here, Barack.
Okay, Joe, it's right here.
I see it. Almost. Got it.
Oh, you didn't get it. Joe, it's right here, it's loose. Where are you, Joe?
It's huge.
No, it's off.
Joe, how can you miss the net? What the hell happened?
Guys, look at this giant bullfrog I just caught.
You serious right now?
It's got to be my biggest bullfrog ever captured. A new PB. B stands for bullfrog. What? What did I say?
The one time I trust you to do one simple thing. You let my PB largemouth throw my hook so you could catch a fucking frog?
I thought I had time. I'm sorry.
I figured Joe would somehow ruin this for Barack, but I had not considered an actual frog would be involved.
At least that's a pretty good frog. An eater for sure.
Oh, he got away from me.
I'm glad it was worth it.
Oh, great. Now Barack's gonna be salty this whole time.
No, I'm okay. I fought her the whole way in, and I'm just going to choose to stay positive. We've only been out here for a little over an hour anyway. I'm sure I'll get another shot at one.
That's very noble of you. I would have attacked him and his frog.
Great attitude, man. What lure did you get that monster to eat anyway?
I had a Strike King Rage Swimmer on, which reminds me I was about to bring up soft plastic swim baits before the incident.
Hell yeah. Now we're swimming.
There we go. Not those terrible pre-rigged shits that catch nothing. These are the real deal.
Being able to rig the swim bait however you want is a big upgrade from the shittier ones.
This has to be one of the most diverse categories of lure in the market. Hundreds of brands make thousands of variants of a soft swim bait.
Barack already knows what's good with that Rage Swimmer, but Strike King honestly doesn't have such a monopoly on this type of lure. Tons of different brands make a great swimmer.
As we've all learned with the last administration, diversity isn't necessarily the best thing. A lot of companies make a shitty swim bait.
Just because some folks make a swim bait that swims funny doesn't mean this isn't a great lure.
Yeah, there's shit lures in every shape and size. Swim baits are still goated.
They're perfect for a jig head, a trailer for a spinnerbait or swim jig, or just on their own with a weight like I was just doing.
Or you could put 10 of them on your Alabama rig.
Lame.
Like any successful type of lure, every brand has their own version. Even Gary Yamamoto made a Senko swim bait.
No way. Say on God right now.
No cap, on God.
Oh man, that's got to be the greatest lure of all time.
Well, they aren't bad, not that great. I like how they flutter like a Senko and have a little tail thump action upon retrieval, but it's not quite as strong as other baits dedicated to swimming. Plus, they tear just as easily as the regular Senkos.
Cool, so there's a Senko for every occasion. Happy days. Now, what is the ranking for the soft swimmers? I'm at A tier, pretty solid.
I think it's safe to put them in S tier since there's no better trailer for spinnerbaits, along with their many uses in rigs and jigs.
I like what George is cooking. I'll agree with him.
I don't mind putting them up there, especially since the Finesse soft swim baits are deadly for people who use drop shots.
People who use drop shots? Is that one of those inclusive terms you made up to make losers feel better?
No, it's not. Soft swim baits S tier.
Hallelujah. What's next?
How about we get into the stick baits of the swim baits? The Fluke.
Oh, Flukes. Like this last election?
Don't even start that shit, Sleepy.
I figured Flukes would count in the stickbait or swimbait category, but here they are with their own.
Flukes need to be respected as their own style. It's a world-renowned lure, a very unique bait with its thick, flat body that mimics injured baitfish perfectly.
Yet another lure on this list that really belongs in your saltwater tackle box. What a shame.
All right, man, you're not going to slander the Flukes like that with me here. I will break this medium-heavy action rod over your head.
Sweet. Are we doing a fisherman's duel? Wait one sec. I'll grab one of George's catfish rods.
Friendly fire will not be tolerated.
Oh shit, George brought a gun to a fishing rod fight.
Peace through strength, cocksuckers. Now rank the Fluke.
It's high tier. The many Flukes available on the market are easily the most versatile soft plastics behind worms and swim baits. being viable in many locations and setups.
They do work very well, but you have to be precise with the way you work the lure. It has really no action on its own until you give it a jerk.
Sounds like how Jill gets me out of bed.
Or how Barack gets Michelle out of bed.
Hey, George, can I get that gun for a second?
Be careful, bro. If you miss, I'll win the next election too.
I never use the Fluke except for saltwater. Do they work just as well for bass fishing?
I wouldn't say they're equal, but not far off.
There are many flukes designed for bass fishing, and they're exceedingly effective, especially when you're targeting bass chasing schools of bait fish near the surface in open or clear water.
It's also one of the only baits other than a Senko you can fish with no weights.
I feel like other lures do everything these do and better.
I disagree. No soft plastic has an action quite like the fluke. How about A tier?
I can do that. There's plenty of little flukes that people either use for trailers or finesse rigs and can fill a boat with bass.
Fill a boat with bass? Why don't you try filling a boat with ass, nerd?
Ha ha ha, got him.
On to the next one. How do we feel about grubs?
I think Obama ate a grub once.
Yuck.
It's a delicacy and not what I'm talking about.
You're weird for that, and grubs are trash. Only good for trailers.
Why are you hating on half the soft plastics in the game, Dumpy?
Because most are doo-doo, and the grub is too.
Another opinion ignorant from a lack of trying. You gotta find the right approach for your body of water. And grubs are better for water that's rocky, deep, and clear. I've used them with success up north.
I would agree with Trump, but I see your point. I always considered grubs as just a tool for sight fishing beds in the spring.
Maidenless behavior.
They are good at that, but you can catch a Donnie with a grub if you do it right.
Fake news. I would pick any soft plastic in A tier over a fat little grub.
Says the guy that looks like a big orange grub with all your rolls.
Oh wow, good one. Even Obama found it funny. Dickheads.
Through his disrespect, Joe was right about one thing. Grubs catch huge largemouth in the right conditions.
So they ain't as good as anything in A tier, ain't bad enough to be crappy, and they can catch big fish sometimes. Perfect B tier in my mind.
Great placement, thank you.
Way too generous. Everybody knows it. Trailer bait.
Shut your bitch ass up. Bring the next one, Barack.
Up next, I have lizards.
Okay, I'm Omega Lost. When did we move on to the pet reptile tier list?
We didn't, although we will do that one very soon. Comment below if you're excited for that.
That's the only list where lizards are good. There's no way anybody uses these piece of shit, frilly lizard lures.
Oh, come on. You never pulled one of these bad boys out for stimmies?
No, I'm not playing with lures. I'm a grown man with a functioning brain.
Is that why you put tariffs on islands occupied by only penguins?
It was time they paid their fair share.
Wow.
Most lures imitate natural prey like a baitfish or a crawdad, but I've never seen a lizard underwater before.
What do you think an alligator is? Underwater lizard.
If that was true, then lizards would work better in Florida, but I can tell you that's not true at all.
I doubt bass think lizards are baby alligators, but if the lizard was mimicking a natural prey item, it would more likely be a newt.
Maybe it looks like a newt, but you don't even fish with these in places newts live, like in a creek.
Bass don't even normally seek out newts or salamanders for prey, but they do instinctively attack them when you drop onto the bass's beds in the spring.
I remember back in the day, a ton of fishermen used lizards, and they worked fine, not just in the spring.
This is an older lure, developed in the 80s. There was a time where people used lizards like the top soft plastic on the market, particularly when used on a Carolina rig. The many moving appendages worked well for the sea rig and was successful for years among anglers across the country.
That was back when I was a Democrat. A lot has changed since then.
Not for the better.
In your complaining? How many ice cream flavors have come out since the 80s?
Fair point. Lizards lost the plot.
At least they're still good for bed fishing.
Even grubs are way better for that. At least when you fish beds with grubs, you don't need a new lure every time because the bass took a couple legs or a tail off you.
Durability is a major concern with these, easily torn or ripped.
That leaves them with only some clout among the Carolina rig community, but that's about it.
I have to say that I prefer other lures in that capacity too.
Thank you. You finally agree that they suck. Put them in fishless.
Not quite. I still believe these outclass at least the gummy worms on this list. How about D tier?
Fine by me. They've fallen out of favor for good reason.
Still great for stimmies.
How many more soft plastics are there?
Just a few. Now let's focus on the lures that mimic crayfish or small critters on the bottom of the ponds and lakes. What better way to begin than with the craws?
Oh boy, I love little crawdads. They taste great.
I can't tell if he's too stupid to realize that we're talking about lures and not lunch, or if he actually puts lures in his mouth.
What's your favorite flavor?
I love the salty coffee flavors.
He's eating plastic.
Well, bass love these just as much as Joe does, probably even more.
I'm glad we finally got to the good stuff. Whether it's a craw trailer or a realistic crayfish lure, this is a perfect lure. No lure better than this one, believe me.
Donnie finally likes a lure. Wow. You hated most of these lures so much, I was starting to think you didn't even like fishing.
That news couldn't be faker, Sleepy. I've been fishing since I was a young lad, and I've been hitting the ponds and lakes near my golf courses ever since. I just know there's two types of lures in this business. Scams and bangers. Those were scams, this one's a banger.
Your take on this is practically universal. Everybody uses craws in any given waterway with great success.
Most rigs and jigs practically exist to present a crawfish trailer because it's so damn effective. Football jigs make S tier mostly because they use these as trailers.
Plus, there's huge potential for the crayfish lure versus the lizard lure for the stimmies.
Nobody is playing with or eating lures but you, bro. That's just not healthy. I'm concerned.
Oh, I'm sorry, did Donnie make you the head of the Department of Health?
No.
Wait, does it even exist anymore?
Yes, it exists. And RFK doesn't recommend eating plastic last time I checked.
Maybe I'll cut back. Anyway, where do we rank these?
I think it's an obvious super bait. George?
Yeah, there's no way you run any jig that's not a swim jig without a crayfish trailer. It's just the only way to do it, man.
The fact that there's so many variations of crayfish lures helps too. There's always a combination of different qualities that will work in any body of water.
I love a Strike King Rage Craw. Those things are responsible for most of the big fish in my bass career.
Zoom has great ones, and so does Berkeley, but there's not a ton of bad designs out there. It's more about matching the best color or picking the right jig.
Remember to match the color of your craw trailer with your jig. I've already said it, but either black and blue or green and brown is all you really need.
It's a super bait for sure.
No question. That was the peak as far as soft plastics. Bring us some more inferior baits.
Nah, we still got some bangers ahead. What about creature-style lures?
Okay, creatures are pretty great.
Not as great as craws generally, but still a good lure.
I also find them more effective in some waterways rather than others, but still a highly versatile lure nonetheless.
What the hell is this thing?
Nobody can say for sure what exactly the creature is mimicking, but it works like some type of crayfish or insect or even baitfish with a thick body and multiple little appendages and fins dangling off it.
It do be dangling.
Creature baits even scale down to finesse lures for drop shots, which can get insanely detailed and are the best finesse lures for drop shots in my opinion.
You really want to make those pussies using drop shots feel welcome, huh?
I am one, so yeah.
Well, I'm sure your people will be proud of your coming out, but I still feel like it's a sin.
I don't appreciate the equivalency you're implying there. Where are we ranking these creature baits?
Gotta be high tier. They will catch as many or more fish than anything in A tier, especially on a good old Texas rig.
Not quite S tier, but belongs in any tackle box, especially in the southern states. I can give it an ace.
That's fair. I didn't start using the non-finesse creatures until I started fishing in places like this pond more often. Definitely better in warmer or stained shallow water.
What's this, a creature feature? Keep it moving, brother.
I can't support that segue, but I will move on. Next we have the tube bait.
Squids. I love squids. These are the best.
And we're back to mediocre lures. Tubes are for noobs.
How dare you? Squids are top tier in both fishing and Japanese pornography.
Stop it. Get some help. But for real, I'm actually fond of the tubes. They work well up north in clear rocky lakes, especially for smallmouth bass, which these lures were originally designed for.
You can also flip fallen trees and structure with these since they're so weedless and snagless. Unfortunately, there are other lures that I prefer for that. And by other lures, I do mean a jig, whether it's a flippin jig or otherwise.
It's great on a Carolina rig at least.
I always use the coffee flavor with the rattle on the inside. They taste so good.
And here I thought he was just eating the craws. It's good to point out the tube is a hollow lure, so there's potential to shove weights and rattles up in there for extra attraction without sacrificing the weedless and snaglessness.
Remember, before you shove anything up inside the tube, make sure you have consent.
Not this time. The caveat to the tubussy is the fact that they tear super easily. At least if you lose an arm or a tail off a lizard, you can still use it. But tubes are useless if the body is torn.
That's mostly the reason why I don't use them anymore. The jigs and creature baits outperform and outlast the tubes, in my opinion.
Better off using those. Tubes are not very good.
Nah, man, still a good option for Carolina rigs and can easily perform if given a solid chance.
Maybe not high tier, but not down in the dumps with lizards. The stimmies off these things alone make them at least crappy tier.
I agree, but not because I'm playing with the lures like a goofy goober, but because they catch fish decently, but with better options available.
I can live with that. It's fitting too, since tubes are only good for crappie fishing.
Shout out to pan fishing enthusiasts. Now I have only one soft plastic left, and it's a blanket term for many types of baits that I call bug baits.
So what specifically are we talking about?
I'm pretty sure he's talking about that stuff Jill used to make me get when there was ants in the house.
That's poison, Joe. I'm describing a ton of different soft plastic baits made to resemble an insect with many legs. The main targets that these lures want to mimic is the aquatic larvae of the Dobson fly, commonly referred to as a hellgrammite.
Ew, that thing is disgusting.
That's just the lure. Take a look at the real thing.
Ah!
Joe, it's just an image.
It's like dude's never seen a nightmarish demon bug before. You live anywhere close to the equator and you're gonna see some shit like this weekly.
The fact that it lives underwater makes it much creepier. I don't know why, but it does.
Not to the bass. The hellgrammite and many other insect larvae are fully aquatic and are a favorite target of bass in creeks and rivers, especially smallmouth bass. In certain waterways, the bass will eat more of these than any other food source.
Anytime Obama starts talking about smallmouth, feel free to stop listening. He learned all his knowledge from corrupt leftists on Lake Michigan.
You won Michigan, by the way.
And I love Michigan. Great people, the best. A lot of smart people in Michigan.
Good thing these monsters only exist up there.
Hellgrammites are commonly seen in rivers and creeks across the United States, except for in the southwest down to Mexico. They are very widespread.
And so are my nightmares now. Thanks for this.
Maybe they exist in all the shallow rivers and streams, but everybody knows the big bass are mostly in lakes.
That's not true, bro. It's all about the food source. Big bass need lots of food, and rivers have thousands of these crawling around the rocks.
Which also means the bug baits would be the best lures in those places. No wonder fly fishermen love rivers the most.
Correct. They also work in lakes and ponds and can certainly catch largemouth too.
Even if you had a point here, there's one weakness these lures have that you guys aren't addressing. All these lures with the tiny plastic legs are gonna get relentlessly attacked by bluegill and other small fish before a bass even sees it, giving you no chance at catching anything big.
Ooh, he's actually right. Bluegill will pick this thing apart like a pack of hungry piranhas.
Okay, sure, bug baits might attract some unwanted attention, but the bass still love them. You could even fly fish with these with great success.
If we really start talking about fly fishing, I'm leaving.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
If we started talking about flies, we'd be here all day, so let's just stick to standard lures. For the bug baits, I think they work, but are also kind of niche. Stick to using them in shallow, rocky rivers and creeks.
I think they're super underrated and could match anything in Ace.
Not a chance. Get your little hellion out of here, crappy at best.
I don't even want to touch these. They give me the heebie-deebie-jeebies.
Crappie is okay for them.
Fine. Continue to underrate the bug baits just like most bass fishermen, and I'll keep taking advantage of fish that never see this kind of lure and smash it on the spot.
I would smash this thing on the spot with a fucking hammer.
Same. All right, let's get into some hard baits.
Oh shit, fish on.
Here we go, Dumpy.
Man, I was beginning to wonder where the fish went.
They turn on in a second in this pond. You gotta be ready.
They sound like my kind of fish.
Look at this one. Beautiful fish. Really tremendous. Best fight of any fish caught today.
You fought it for like 20 seconds, dude? What do you have, like 50-pound braid?
Still not bigger than mine.
Maybe not quite, but that's a nice 5 or 6 pounder.
That is a nice fish. I wish I landed a fish like that.
It's a pleasure to haul a Texan fish out of this pond. She put up more of a fight than Kamala, that's for sure. All right, you big beautiful bass, get back out there and enjoy Trump's America.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Sorry for my rude interruption. What are we on?
We just started hard baits.
I started hard baiting when I was like 11.
TMI!
Well, at least hard baits are simple to go over. There's really only swimbaits, crankbaits, and topwaters to rank.
Topwaters are a bit more unique and diverse than swimbaits and crankbaits, so let's do those first.
Hard swimbaits next. The last swimbait reveals itself.
Is this like the 4th time we've done swimbaits, or am I losing my marbles?
Yes to both.
The hard swimbaits are self-explaining. It's the normal swimbait we've already gone over 3 times, but this time solid material with usually 2 treble hooks.
Most are also segmented to give a more realistic action.
That pretty much sums up the differences between these and other swim baits. Question is, how do they compare to their soft cousins at catching fish? I know my answer would be not as good as soft swim baits, but what do I know? I only use swim baits all the time, more than anybody.
So what's that as a rank? Crappy?
Nah, hard swimbaits over pre-rigged swimbaits any day. They can't exist in the same tier.
Right, but I don't think they're quite an ace. They do, however, catch some massive largemouth. Some of the biggest fish come from using a big swimbait.
There are smaller hard swim baits, but it gets to a point where you need a weight to cast farther to cover more water, and then you might as well be using a soft swim bait.
Hard swimmers should only be a giant target so you have a shot at catching the biggest fish in the lake. They aren't usually going to put many fish in the boat, but this is a straight trophy hunter lure.
If you think about it, we're all hard swimmers since we all won the race to the egg at conception.
Thanks for that, Joe.
I know there's a community of bass fishermen in the California Delta that use these religiously to pull in giants. Sounds like one of the best big bass lures in the game, making these a perfect B-tier lure.
That's a good place for the hard swimmer. The only huge downside being these lures are always so damn expensive and easy to lose. But if you really commit your time and money to these, it'll work out eventually.
It's an objective truth that big largemouth don't hunt the same as the smaller ones, preferring large and easy targets, which is all big hard swim baits are.
You guys got to be careful talking about these big hard baits. It's getting pretty tough for me to take it seriously.
How many dick jokes do you think you can make on this list?
Probably a few more at least.
I would also lump in anything called a glide bait that looks similar to these because it's the same thing except the action is a little more like a fluke than a swim bait.
Glide baits are very good as well. That was an easy one. Now let's get into crankbaits.
Hell yeah, I've been waiting to crank it for the whole list.
Can you just please go behind the shed this time?
No, sorry, I need an audience.
Okay, well there's like 7 different kinds of crankbaits. How do we split this up?
We can divide crankbaits into 3 categories. Diving crankbaits that dive to specific depths, squarebill crankbaits, and lipless crankbaits.
You're right, Barack. There's really only a few ways to crank it.
Joe, I'm at the end of my spool with you, goddammit.
Ha.
I can send Joe to another country by force if you want, Barack.
That seems like a lot of resources. I'll just physically assault him next time.
Usual suspects, am I right? Ah! Guys, I'm in the pond. Did I trip?
Yeah, you took a nap while standing and fell right in.
Oh man, not again.
I pushed you in.
Oh, fuck you then.
Get out of the water, bro. There might be Helgramites.
Oh shit!
Wow, I've never seen Joe move that quick.
I just didn't want to get eaten by water demon bugs. Why did you do that?
He said there were many reasons, but I'd wager that if you landed his fish, you would be dry right now.
It's possible.
Well, now you're soaked. Go on inside and get changed.
Be right back, homies.
He's gonna have a rash for sure.
Yep. Let's get into diving crankbaits before he comes back.
The deep divers, huh? They can be pretty good, I guess. There's much better out there, though.
You have many diving crankbaits out there, all targeting different depths. It's all about knowing where the fish are and avoiding snags and weed beds while still casting near those places to draw the fish out with loud internal rattles.
It's easier said than done. I figure that crankbaits are the easiest lures to lose. Too many hooks going way too fast. You're lucky if you don't snap one off every time you use them.
The consistency and effectiveness of diving crankbaits are undeniable at any depth they dive to, triggering reaction strikes like few other lures can.
It's easy to figure out what crankbait to use. Just try a 10-foot diver, and if you never hit the bottom and lose a lure, you can go deeper.
If you ask people to think of a single lure to represent bass fishing, this would be the lure most people name first. Simple, yet effective.
Yeah, not too many different ways to work this lure. You either reel it in slow or you reel it in fast.
Which makes them very beginner-friendly. Anybody that can cast can work this lure like a pro.
They also come in every single color you can possibly think of, something all hard baits have in common.
Overall, a great lure. I'm not sure I'd put it right in S tier, though. It's tough to throw diving crankbaits all day long since you aren't able to hit more shallow areas or cover or anywhere near weed beds.
There aren't many bodies of water where a diving crankbait can cover everywhere. It does cover open water better than most lures, though.
If you're on a boat casting at deeper humps and rock piles, then this might be the most efficient lure in the tackle box. But that scenario doesn't always happen. If you're fishing in a weedy pond or lake, you're gonna catch nothing but salad all day.
Sounds like your worst nightmare.
Fuck off. Salad is for liberals anyway.
I'd say the diving crankbait deserves a solid ace. The upsides outweigh the downsides.
I think that's fine. There are places you can't fish the divers, but there's also always a spot where you can, assuming that the water gets deeper than 20 feet.
I guess so. People use them. People love them. I would rather use a spinnerbait, to be honest.
Ace it is. Let's get into the squarebill crankbait.
I'm glad we can discuss crankbaits without Joe making a crank it joke every 10 seconds. Thanks for throwing him in the lake.
No need to thank me. It was well deserved. So how do we feel about the Squarebill?
I think it's the slow special cousin in the crankbait family. Why do you need a crankbait that doesn't even dive more than 5 feet down at full speed?
Most people think this is just a shallow diving crankbait, but those exist and are still diving crankbaits. The Squarebill is uniquely round, and combined with its square bill, it can deflect off hard cover rather than snagging it.
It's a night and day difference with how snagless the Squarebill is. Deflecting off rocks and logs is actually the whole point of this lure, since the loud crack from the lure hitting structure triggers reaction strikes like no other.
If you're casting at underwater trees and shit to knock your chode crankbait into, then I have some unfortunate news for you. You're gonna lose some lures. It's not that snagless, there's 6 hooks on the thing. Weeds are still not your friend with this tied on.
Okay, it's possible to snag it on a branch or weeds, but at least you could retrieve most lost lures, unlike the diving crankbaits, since they'll only be a few feet deep.
Yeah, I'm not diving in the water for a lure with visible learning disabilities.
Especially with hellgrammites crawling around. Fuck all that.
If the existence of insects in the water prevents you from swimming in any water but a pool, then that means you're a pussy.
What are we talking about?
These guys are hating on the Squarebill Crankbait, and I'm defending its honor.
That's because these lures are crappy at best. The Bella Ramsey of crankbaits.
Don't you dare compare this modern masterpiece of lures to that little boy in The Last of Us.
Bella Ramsey is a they, them, you incomparable bigots. But when did this start being about The Last of Us?
He started it. Why don't you throw him in the lake?
If I tried, the only thing I'd be throwing is my back out.
Don't feel bad. It's because the weight of America's future is on my shoulders.
Whether it's America's future or the 200 pounds of excess egg McMuffins isn't the point here. The square lip is a classic and deserves more respect.
Hey man, I never talked bad about this lure. It was one of the first hard baits I ever used, and it's caught me many a fish through the years.
Well, these little chodes aren't specialized for catching big fish. So you're stuck between ace and crappie, and I couldn't see this lure as an ace.
Just because you and the square lip are similarly shaped doesn't mean you gotta be a dickhead. These puppies crank it just as hard as anybody, maybe even harder.
You are a sexual delinquent, and it's not helping this lure's ranking.
That's true, but I still think these are aces and kill it in the creeks, rivers, and ponds.
I'll have to lean toward Barack and Joe on this one. It's just a really great lure to walk around shore fishing with.
Oh my God, just use a Senko or a frog for that.
You can easily use those or a Squarebill or even the next lure on the list, which is the Lipless Crankbait.
Finally, the apex of crankbaits, really the only crankbait you'll ever need. Forget the other two.
Wow. This guy really just rejected most of the cranks on the market for this whitewashed lipless crank. Any guy will tell you that if you're getting cranked, we prefer that lips were involved. Trump likes to crank it dry. What a psycho.
Shut the fuck up with the cranking jokes.
I agree with Trump's rage, but disagree with the standard you've set for crankbaits. Each have a time and a place to excel.
Wrong. Other crankbaits have a place, but the lipless crankbait can do it all.
They are much more consistent across all scenarios. Maybe Donald is onto something with this take.
I doubt that a lipless crankbait can work deep points and flats like a diving crankbait does.
Not exactly, but the lipless crankbait sinks, so you could let it sink to any depth and still fish with it. The difference here is that I can use the lipless crank for those deep points and still work it in more shallow areas and everywhere in between instead of having to tie on a diving crankbait for one spot.
Ah, so this is more of a laziness thing for you because having to stop fishing and tie a simple knot is apparently too much work?
It is very convenient, but there's also plenty more upsides to lipless cranks, like the fact that they have a much smaller and slimmer profile than other cranks with lips, so they don't catch every weed they run through.
You can even pull clean through a weed bed with a lipless crank, which is nearly impossible for other crankbaits. All this without sacrificing any action or sound from the rattles.
So it's a good lure and everything, but aren't there any downsides?
Well, they easily get snagged on structure, unlike the Squarebill cranks. There's one.
Maybe it could get snagged more than Tubby Squareface, but the likelihood of a snag in general is lower with these because they are much smaller on average, yet still very heavy for great casting length.
What else? Anything else bad?
I can't think of anything. It is a great lure. Very loud, very adaptable, and is one of the few hard baits you can use year-round.
The classic Rapala rattle trap is a favorite among most anglers. I love how heavy and loud it is in such a small package.
You know who else is heavy and loud and has a small package? Donnie.
This dude is begging to be resubmerged.
Where were we? The lipless crank is one of the most used lures out there, but I like to think other crankbaits do better in some cases, while the lipless is just solid anytime and anywhere.
If you don't need to reach down to more than 20 feet deep, there's no reason to use any crankbait but this one, believe me.
I think there's a happy medium between you two, but lipless cranks are certainly one of the easiest and most effective hard baits money can buy. I'm with Don and S tier.
Thank you, George. The smartest minds think alike.
I'd love to oppose them, but I really can't see many downsides. What do you think, Barack?
I'd be more of an A tier on this one, but I'll concede the Superbait since you two have much more experience throwing it.
Admitting defeat to a superior opinion is very admirable, thank you.
Let's move on so I don't regret it too much.
Oh, are we done cranking?
Not quite. Now we're on to another lipped lure, the jerkbait.
Ah, yes, I remember when I advanced from cranking it to jerking it.
I really don't think you can say that again. He didn't respond to that, but he's got a certain look in his eye. Barack is going to kill you, dude.
I'm trying to control myself.
It'll be okay, pal. No harm in a little jerking now and again.
Bill loves jerking it. He practically only uses this lure.
I can rise above this, but just know I don't support the way you guys choose to talk.
Either way, the jerkbait is a solid lure, whether it's the double or triple hook variety.
The big triple hook jerkbaits are my favorite in early springtime when the females come shallow. The fast, stiff action of the jerkbait makes bass slam this lure hard.
There aren't enough, that's what she said, in existence to handle what you just said.
The triple hook jerkbaits are a big target, but the more subtle two-hook minnow-style jerkbaits catch the most fish out there. They perform just as good, if not better, than the diving crankbaits.
You also snag every single weed and log with a triple hook jerkbait, while the double can avoid that. But the advantage is more action, more reaction strikes, and a high hookup ratio with the additional treble hook.
3 hooks will catch almost any fish that hits the lure. It's great. You'll get more bites with the double, but if you ask me, go big or go home.
I always go big when it comes to jerking it. I have my classic style of jerking where I jerk it, then I pause, then repeat. This technique is what I call edging.
There's no way you call that edging. What sucks is that's a great way to do it too.
What did you expect? I've been jerking it for many years. I know how to do it right.
All right, that's enough sexual innuendos for one lure. Where do we rank the jerkbait?
Well, it's close to the crankbait overall, in both effectiveness and application, so it easily fits into ace tier.
There's no right or wrong lipped diving bait at the end of the day. They both do similar things. I like to compare the two like I compare soft plastics. The crankbait is like the standard plastic worm, whereas the jerkbait is like the fluke of the hard baits, since it mimics a wounded baitfish just like a fluke does.
Sounds like we're all in total agreement about jerking it. Nothing makes me happier.
Just put it in ace tier. If I have to hear Joe talk about jerking it again, I'm gonna walk over to George's wood chipper and turn myself into Trump Chum.
No, don't. The fish would be so full they would never eat again.
I'm all for A tier. Gee, how many lures do we have left anyway?
I have 10 more lures on my list, and they happen to be all topwaters.
That's fantastic. Like we've already mentioned when ranking the buzzbait, topwaters are easily the most fun and exciting methods of catching bass. There's nothing in this hobby quite like watching your lure getting absolutely demolished on the surface, like an aid ship for Palestine.
You're a fucking dick, dude.
Don't be surprised if the high action earns these lures a high rank. I'm quite fond of all topwaters myself.
Same here. It's even more fun than jerking it.
And since they all kind of do the same thing, they'll be easy to explain.
Hopefully you're quick about it. Some would consider this video a bit long.
What? No way.
I hear that. Let's start with a topwater resembling the lipped baits we just ranked. I give you the wake lure.
Wake me up!
Wake me up inside!
I can't wake up!
Wake me up inside!
Save me!
Stop screaming!
Thank you, Barack. They're scaring the fish.
Okay, so wake lures are basically crankbaits that are on the surface or just barely beneath the water, creating a big wake as it's retrieved.
Of course, we start with one of the least known topwater baits. Nobody is out fishing with a wake bait. Wake up to reality.
I have to admit, I never really got into these, even though I've tried most topwaters.
If George has never picked one up, then you don't have to.
Now hold on a minute. Wake baits have a time and a place.
What time and place is that?
Admittedly, it's not a lure you can throw regardless of conditions. The way the wake baits are designed, you can only work them effectively when the water is very calm, since its wake will get lost in any sort of chop.
That explains why not too many people throw it.
Maybe. But the lure isn't bad when you have no winds and you're closer to nighttime in the summer. Think of it as an option similar to a buzzbait, but not nearly as fast and loud.
Sounds unbelievably niche. Why would you run a lure that needs the fucking stars and planets to align in order to catch a 2-pounder?
Because this is a lure that can pull huge fish. Trust me on this one. So few people use this lure that it can trick huge fish into biting since they've never seen it before.
Imagine the only argument you have is that nobody else uses it. There's probably a reason for that, don't you think?
I don't knock lures until I try them. I'll give this thing a go at dusk this summer and see if it truly hauls giants.
Another different tempo like the buzzbait, but a lot slower and more subtle. Worth a try if the fish are being finicky that day.
I have concerns.
What would you possibly have concerns about?
I'm concerned that if it's not exactly on the top of the water, I won't get the explosive topwater bites that I want.
He's never been more logical than right now. Due to spitting facts, why fish at topwater if it doesn't even stay on top of the water?
I assure you, the strikes will be visible and explosive just like other topwaters. That much is guaranteed. It doesn't even go below the water if you work it slow, which is preferred anyway.
I'll trust you on this one. It's not like the lure won't work. It's got everything you need in a topwater, but it's just not in the conversation for the best topwater.
Could it work in B tier since it can catch big fish?
That's not a bad placement. I just can't say for sure if it's bad, and neither can these two morons.
Hey!
I've used one and caught a nice 3-pounder up north, which is a nice fish for up there.
That's cute. A big fish for a liberal.
I'm ignoring you. B tier, right, George?
Yeah, it barely sneaks into B tier with some major downsides.
I'll take it.
Enough of these little gimmick lures, Barack. Bring me a lure that people actually use.
We can move on to something more recognizable. How about we cover the classic popper?
Yay!
That's more like it. The popper is right up there with the spinnerbait as the most iconic bass lure in existence. Nothing better than a good popper.
Unlike the last lure, I think everyone who's into bass fishing has seen or used poppers.
Facts, I love poppers. What the hell is so funny, Joe?
Did you know poppers are drugs used by gay men to make their buttholes looser?
Oh my God.
I did not know that, but I'm certain that Obama did.
Yeah, I'm the one who told him about that, and now I regret it.
I'm feeling nice today, so I'll play along with that story, even though I'm sure you've both tried the butthole pills.
They really work.
Moving on. So for anyone who doesn't know, poppers, the fishing lure, are unique topwater lures with a round mouth that makes an iconic bubbly pop sound when you give it a quick pull.
Not only are they well known, but they could be the most effective topwater in most situations.
It's much faster to list the downsides than to list the advantages of using this lure.
The only real cons to the popper is the fact that it picks up weeds, just like any other lure with double treble hooks.
Good thing it only picks up those weeds if they're floating. Lily pads are the major culprits.
If you can keep it out of the weeds and use it in cloudy or low light conditions, then you're going to have a fantastic time working this lure near the shore.
It's not difficult to get the hang of poppers, it's just more about being patient and getting a good action going.
I like to do a few quick pops and then wait a few seconds and repeat. Simple.
They usually hit you on the paws, so make sure to stay focused.
Such a fun lure. I really can't imagine bass fishing without poppers. Nobody's thinking about buttholes but you, Joe.
Sorry, it's just all I can think of when people say poppers now. Don't mind me. Seriously, poppers are great for everyone at every age and skill level and with any level of butt stuff.
You can't be trusted. Anything else to say about the aforementioned lure that will not be named for my sanity?
I'll say that not every popper is as powerful as some of the best ones.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. The standard popper is great and all, but they don't have any additional action apart from popping. The chug bug is a premium popper that also swims side to side like a walk-the-dog lure or a fluke.
Wow, thank you for actually contributing some knowledge to this instead of messing around.
Oh, I don't mess around when it comes to the chug bug.
Joe is correct. Chug bug is next level.
It's a great lure, but the regular shaped popper is still a S tier. It's a legend.
One of the best lures for entertainment purposes. Working the popper is fun and addicting, plus the strike is like a jump scare every time.
It's a great feeling. I've felt it many times. Some people say it's the best feeling in bass fishing, and I tend to agree with them. Smart people.
Bass hit topwaters very violently. It's like when a seal gets absolutely obliterated by a great white on Shark Week.
It's a super bait in every way. You can't go to a lake or a pond or a gay bar without some poppers.
I'm putting it in S tier so Joe can stop talking about poppers.
Yes, please. It's the apex of topwaters.
There's plenty more topwaters, but this is the standard.
Now that those are done, let's go over the pencil popper.
Oh, great. More opportunities for popper jokes.
I'm all set. I just like this lure.
You're dumb as hell if you're using this outside of the ocean. Another sea bait. Get it away from me.
These lures are better for saltwater fish, no question. To understand why is to understand how these lures are supposed to work. Pencil poppers are not physically the most attractive lure for fish, but they make such a big disturbance that it draws the attention from fish much farther away.
That's why it works so well in saltwater, since there's so much space that you need maximum power, but in freshwater it's more important to look tasty too, which the pencil popper doesn't.
Don't listen to these fake intellectualoids. The pencil popper comes in all kind of colors and catches fish.
You could catch fish with a flip-flop doesn't mean it's actually viable, fishless.
Come on, the fact that it's a topwater at least means it's crappy.
I'll allow D tier.
Sounds good to me.
No!
Bring the next one, I'm sure it'll be much better.
Next I have the Spooks, or the walk the dog style lures.
Ah!
Shit. Are you really still mad about the pencil popper?
No, I just got scared because it's the Spooks.
That's crazy, bro.
These lures are even easier to work than the popper. They swim side to side on their own, or with a slight twitch, and have great speed and action.
I'd say these are like the third best topwater lures. Nothing really special about them, they're just exceptional baits with tons of action and they'll catch lots of bass. Nothing more.
Yeah, they're very consistent. A similar style to the Fluke, but topwater for much more fun.
I would highly recommend using these when you're trying to cover more water than the standard topwater.
Yeah, that's facts. I've even used them in open water over humps and rock piles, and they pull fish from the depths for giant explosive hits.
I don't think Spooks are quite as fun as poppers, but they are still a solid lure and probably an ace.
Solid ace. I've had some of my best days fishing just throwing a white spook on cloudy summer days.
All right, enough of the Spooks. I'm really starting to get scared.
Good. Next up we have prop lures.
Oh, cool, I got a fish on.
Nice, George.
Is it another big one?
Nah, he's a little one. Here he comes. There he is, little guy on the mini jig.
It's about time we caught a dink.
I hope you don't have a billion names for tiny bass like you do for big ones.
Great idea. Dinks, minnows, sardines, and tiny mouths come to mind.
You can call them Faucis too.
Nothing to see here. Let's get back to prop lures. My personal favorite type is the whopper plopper.
That's what I call Donnie's ass. It's filled with whoppers and it plops when he sits.
Funny, you made quite a plop sound when Obama threw you in the pond.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that. Asshole.
Now you smell like pond water. Anyway, the prop lures come in many forms, like the whopper plopper, and also some spook-style baits with little metal props called torpedoes.
I don't use ploppers or torpedoes, so I assume they're mid.
You're tripping, bro. I think ploppers are great. You get a cool sound when you work the lure across the surface, almost like it's blowing bubbles, and bass love it.
Very easy lure to use and catches as many fish as a spook or a popper.
I know for a fact you guys aren't telling the whole story. Why aren't more people using them? What's the downside?
There's more downsides to torpedo lures than the whopper plopper, but nothing major. You just need to twitch a torpedo to make it work, while the plopper is just a simple retrieve.
The plopper is a loud lure with a ton of speed that draws fish in from forever away, while the torpedo is quieter and more of a finesse prop lure.
Right? So you use the torpedo in clear open water and use the plopper in stained or water rich in weeds and cover. Still productive either way.
I like it because the name sounds funny.
The lure sounds even funnier than the name.
If these were really as good as poppers, I think more people would be using them. I'm starting to think this is fake news.
They exploded in popularity in around 2020, so they haven't been relevant all that long. It started as a musky bait in the early 2010s and took a while to catch on for bass fishermen.
Well, that explains it. The last 4 years was just a depressing blur for most people. Maybe I'll give the plopper a try.
Me too. I can't wait to plop some whoppers.
I feel like this isn't a super bait, but I don't mind if it matches the Spooks in A tier. They might be even better.
I'm a fan of that take. The plopper is worth a shot if you've never fished with it.
Plop that sucker right into ace. What topwater should we rank now?
Let me put you guys onto some game right now. Let's rank the crawlers.
Wow, that's a really interesting suggestion. I had completely overlooked this one.
This is an old school lure that most people think could never work because of the wacky wing design, but it works a whole lot better than it looks. My dad used to use them from time to time, and he was twice the fisherman I could ever be.
Oh man, you're a sweetheart. And I'm not poking fun either.
I appreciate you.
I love George and I love this lure. Nobody is a bigger supporter of the crawler than I am, and I can tell you the rank already. It's a big bass B tier lure since it's a giant awkward target that makes tons of noise with little to no speed. I get the cons keep it from being high tier, but this is something not many people know about. So you'll be able to hunt giants on topwater with this thing, especially at dawn or dusk or even at night.
Can it crawl over logs and stuff? Is that why it's called a crawler?
No, you'll hook everything you run through, just like any other topwater with 6 hooks. It's called a crawler because the wings flail around upon retrieval, making the lure crawl over the surface like a dying bird or something.
B tier sounds great for these. Big fish have a hard time passing up a large meal like a struggling bird or small mammal that these crawlers mimic extremely well.
A little too large, awkward, and noisy for where I usually fish, but I can see it working in places like this one.
It might even work in those northern lakes, but only at night. This is a great night fishing lure. One of the best, maybe the best.
I'll let you have that B tier, but this still isn't the best night fishing lure. That title belongs to the jitterbug.
The jitter what?
Jitterbug. Another old timer like the crawler, but works more like a whopper plopper, but slower and with an equally funny sound upon retrieval.
George is pulling out a classic right here. The jitterbug is a topwater that can absolutely destroy fish at night or in windless conditions. The lure struggles to work in any kind of chop on the water surface, but once you go out at night with this thing, you'll never go night fishing without it.
I know this one. I would use it before the sun came up in the early morning for some nice topwater hits.
Of course, Joe knows this one. He was around when it came out in like 1920.
The best part is the suspense of listening to the light bubbly sounds the jitterbug makes and then hearing a bass blow up on it. It's like playing Jack in the Box with largemouth.
Smallmouth will also hit this thing with the force of a drone strike.
The lure has downsides, don't get me wrong, but when it works, it fucking works. Too bad I can't go night fishing anymore on account or I'll drown.
I'm hearing lots of praise, but the silver lining seems to be that the jitterbug can only be used rarely since wind exists. Therefore, it's crappy.
No way, man. This lure opens a whole new experience that you don't get when fishing in the middle of the day.
I agree. When the water is like a mirror, the jitterbug is possibly the most effective topwater. And there's a real argument for bass being more active at dawn, dusk, and into the night.
This might be one of the best lures out there for its intended purpose, and that's on everything in my fishing shed.
Mid.
I'm thinking we go ace to defy this administration.
I'm with you. No strike kings.
Okay, well now, I'm fundamentally against you if you're going against Strike King, even as a joke.
My bad. I take it back.
Good. I will fully support the jitterbug as an ace, since it's the best lure to use at night, but has trouble with any wind.
Whatever. You can have your little jitterbug in A tier. What about the frog lure? We've been ranking lures for like 2 hours, and we somehow haven't gone over one of the best lures in existence.
Yay, like that frog I caught earlier.
Yeah, the lure version of that.
The frog is one of the most unique and used lures in America. Any place that has surface plants like lily pads can be a great spot for the frog lure.
The frog is one of my faves as well. I love pretending to hop from one lily pad to another. You get so into it that you start to ribbit for the full immersion.
This bait is for scum.
Excuse me? Who did you call scum? If it was me, then you just won an all-expenses-paid trip to Alligator Alcatraz.
No, I meant this lure does great when used over pond scum. You know the thick green algae-looking stuff that grows over still water? Bass love to rest under all that scum and eat real frogs that live in it too, so it becomes a fantastic target for people using a frog lure.
Oh, okay. You're safe from the gators for now.
Generally, anywhere frogs exist is a good place to use a frog lure.
Like the pet store?
Excuse me, anywhere frogs and fish exist.
So the pet store.
Shut up.
Frogs are a very important tool for fishing shallow waters everywhere. It's a completely weedless lure that keeps its hook points above water, so there's no chance of snagging, unlike literally every other topwater.
That's why it can get up into the nastiest places in the shallows and pull through clean every time.
The one caveat to the frogs is the hook's positions make it hard to set the hook on a bass if he just has a piece of the frog rather than the entire lure in its mouth. The key is to allow a second or two to pass after the strike before setting the hook, which can be difficult at first, especially when the fish blows up on your frog while your guard's down.
Maybe it's easy to miss a frog bite compared to other topwaters, but that doesn't mean it's not successful.
Frog lures work all summer long and can be the most productive lure for shallow, weedy ponds and lakes.
Not only that, but their snagless power can open up entire locations that all the other lures would never be able to reach.
Another slight downside would be the fact that you need some heavy line to haul fish out of dense vegetation. Just because the lure itself won't snag weeds doesn't mean the fish won't drag you into them.
Sure, but once you get past the heavy line and slight learning curve for hook sets, this is guaranteed to become one of your favorite lures. I could never imagine fishing in ponds or any lake in Florida without using a frog lure. Trust me, I've caught hundreds of fish on frogs. I'm probably the best fisherman at using frogs in America, everybody tells me.
That's cap, but I agree with your opinion of the frog. It's a great lure and a staple of topwater fishing. The question is, does it make S tier?
Oh, and usually superbaits don't really have any weaknesses, but the frog has a couple. It might be an ace.
I don't know about that.
Frogs are clearly a super bait, purely based on the effectiveness and ability to go where no other bait can reach.
I'm kind of on the fence between ace and superbait. It could go either way.
Then let me make the executive decision for you since I'm the president or whatever. Super bait for sure.
Yeah, it's good enough to be S tier. No lure on the market can do what the frogs do.
Facts. You don't see any other lure trying to hop across a highway?
You're just trying to bring up Frogger because you still have the high score on George's arcade machine. You're not slick.
Then go ahead and beat my score, Dumpy.
500,000 is an impossible score to reach, and I can only assume your score is rigged somehow. You can't even stand up for that long?
Yes, I can. Just ask your wife. She knows exactly how long I can stand.
You make me internally violent.
The new machines have a pause button, by the way.
Whatever. Frogs are a super bait. That's all I really care about.
Cool. Okay, I only have a couple more topwaters left. How about the class of huge animal mimics that people use to try and catch monsters?
Yes, the mouse or rat lure has been popular among flashy YouTube fishermen for a while.
Rat lures certainly count here, and so do duck or even turtle lures. These are mostly copies of other styles to help mimic a large animal struggling on the surface.
I've seen all types of different styles of these. Some work like wake lures, others work like crawlers, and some even work more like prop lures.
They're all the same. They're a big hunk of plastic that will catch absolutely nothing.
Rat lures look cool, but when I bought one for 20 bucks, I didn't catch shit.
That's the story of this class of lure. Ideally, it works like anything in B tier, catching only the biggest targets, but they really don't consistently attract any bites at all.
Animal lures are gigantic and loud and don't cause reaction strikes as much as most other lures. You're relying on a trophy-sized bass to deem it too big and easy to pass up, but you got to run that bass over for that to happen, making this a very low percentage lure. Plus, you need to wait for conditions to be better for topwater on top of that. Way too many things working against you.
It looks cool and you have bragging rights if you manage to catch a big fish on one, but that's all it is. A stunt lure.
They can be an effective lure, for muskie anyway.
So where do we put this expensive, bulky, obnoxious lure that never catches a lot of fish?
It still looks cool, at least. And if you ever actually get hit, you know it's a big one.
I can confirm that they sometimes, although rarely, do catch big fish around where I am. Florida bass love a swamp rat. That doesn't mean it fits into B tier, however. It might be a trophy hunting lure, but that doesn't mean it's good at its job.
I guess since it does work on rare occasions, that can pull it out of fishless.
Yeah, I'm fine with the fishing for the happy tree friends.
All good with me. Waste of money.
Great. What's the last lure you have for us?
We're already on the last lure. I feel like we just started.
Time flies when you're fishing with the guys.
I'm not letting you have that. Shit sucked.
Oh boy, you're gonna like this one. Last I have is the Donald lure.
Oh, wow, that's tough.
Look at this piece of shit.
I don't know why you guys are laughing. That's awesome. Probably a good lure. As good as any.
There's a Donald lure, just like the animal lures, and I even found a Trump frog, too.
Is there any George W. lures?
I couldn't find any.
Oh.
I'm only on a spoon, but Joe has a frog lure, same as Donald.
Yay! I'm a frog! This is perhaps the greatest day of my life next to the day Ben and Jerry's opened their doors in '78.
That's just ruined everything for me. I wanted to be the only lure president.
I would rank the Biden lure superbait and the Trump lure fishless.
The Trump lure would outfish the Biden lure in any state that's not California or Massachusetts. You already know what kind of fish you're getting in those types of places.
I don't think fish do politics, but these are hilarious, and if you manage to catch a fish on one, you're a certified memer.
I don't think they're quite fishless. I mean, at their core, they're still frog lures or crawlers. They're at least in D tier.
I totally agree. It's not like the fish can see through the scum half the time anyway. It's a frog lure. They'll smash it.
We're way too low on the Trump lure, guys.
Biden lure might be crappy. He's still better than Cheeto frog, but hey, at least with that, you have a solid chance at catching a Donnie.
Whatever. Put this beautiful lure in deficient, even though any fish that would eat this has good taste.
Fantastic list, guys.
I couldn't agree more. Going through most lures with you guys was so fun, for the most part.
I couldn't ask for a more special day to catch my PB and relax with the boys.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, this was a ton of information. Should we do a little end summary for sanity purposes?
Yeah, for sure. The tier list doesn't only consider the effectiveness of each lure, rather their ability to be utilized in the habitats you'll be fishing. Of course, a frog would never work in the middle of a lake in 30 feet of water, but it's up to you to determine the right approach for what you're fishing.
There are more basic lures like the spinnerbait and the Senko that can produce in most places you'll encounter. But like we've been saying, it's completely location specific.
Bass fishing is about more than just lure selection. Knowing where the fish are is half the battle. Then it comes down to technique and patience with whatever you're using to get consistent bites.
Knowing your water and weather is the key to lure selection. You can predict where fish might be and then make better decisions moving forward based on your experience.
If you're just a beginner or don't want to buy every lure for every possible situation, then just buy the lures closer to superbait tier and target the locations where they work. Or, just bring some worms and bobbers with you everywhere.
Certain lures in the lower tiers might be better in some places and vice versa. This list, to me, is a good representation of lures based on how adaptable and fun to use they are, so you can have a better chance of a successful day out on the water. Of course, let us know in the comments if we missed a lure or a rig that you use, or if you would rank any of these lures differently.
I really appreciate the list in this trip, guys. You never know when it's your last fishing trip, so you gotta enjoy everything while it lasts.
Wait, what?
That's very nice, but sounded eerie, and I'm not talking Great Lakes.
Yeah, what's the big idea, Joe? Did you get COVID again or something?
No, man, I actually got prostate cancer, stage 4.
Joe, that's horrible.
That's awful news. I'm sorry, buddy.
I didn't know that. You're telling me for the first time. I am saddened to hear that.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I guess all those years of cranking and jerking finally caught up with me.
Joe, you just gave us the worst news a friend can give another friend, and you're already joking around?
Did you expect anything different? I've never been a guy to dwell on the negative. I've been through a lot of medical who-whats-its in my life, particularly the last few years. And one thing I've learned is that the only thing you can control in this life is your attitude and how you treat others, even in the face of a bad situation.
I swear to God, all of America's classified healthcare will be at your disposal. You will keep on going, Joe. I need you to see how great America is after my term is over. I will have Elon make you into a fucking cyborg if I have to.
Sounds cool. Biden bot.
Oh, Donald secretly loves Joe, and that's really why he's upset.
1,000%. Their bromance is subtle but passionate.
No, he's the worst. He's an idiot and a drug addict and a kid sniffer and... Ugh! Okay, fine. I love Joe. He's one of my best friends. I can't see a world without having him on Discord playing a game he sucks at. Terrible president, great friend.
The feeling is mutual, Donnie. I'm looking forward to becoming a Biden bot with your help. Beep, bop, boop.
But in all seriousness, our hearts go out to Joe Biden and his real-life diagnosis.
Fourth wall break.
We wish nothing but the best for him and his family. Politics can be brutal, but it's always important to remember that life is precious and to cherish those around you.
Speaking of, I love spending this time fishing with all of you. It was a fun fishing trip and tier list. I wouldn't rather spend it with any other group of guys. Now how's about we have some supper? I got ribeyes marinating in the fridge.
Thanks, bushy boy.
That sounds great. I've barely eaten today. I'm starving.
It is literally impossible to be starving on the exact same day you ate McDonald's.
You still got those ice cream sandwiches?
Yeah, I got the goods. Laura just went to Costco.
She's a legend.
I guess it's time to wrap up, but before we do, I just want to thank the audience for watching this video, and also for waiting patiently while we made it over the course of a few months. It was a brutal process to make it, but it's all worth it if you guys enjoyed it.
I've been extremely busy running a perfect nation, but the next few videos should come out a lot faster. It says so in my new spending bill.
And a shout out to all our wonderful subscribers, YouTube members, and Patreons. You guys all allow us to take months to work on giant projects like this one.
They must have learned a thing or two. I know I did.
Please let us know if you learned, laughed, or landed a PB while watching. Obama reads most of the comments since he's retired and has nothing better to do, so feel free to comment your thoughts.
Wow, thanks. If you want more consistent updates on content, make sure to join our Discord channel with a link in the description of this video.
And lastly, please hit the local lakes and ponds for some fun in the sun. And maybe give one of these lures or rigs a try if you never have.
All right, George, let's bust those stakes out.
I'm on it. Good luck on your next fishing trips, fellers.
May the fish be with you.
Bye, guys.